really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this Degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, to where you can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, welcome to this here October 27th issue of the Degen Roundtable special guest episode. We're doing a special guest episode in place of our normal news segments that we do on Sundays, but it's going to still be, we're still going to be sprinkling a little bit of news in there. Joining me tonight, I've got the fantastic Mr. Zenith. I've got the fantastic Mr. RG3 for the folks. And by the way, my name is Will Stevenson. For the folks at home who don't know who we are, my name is Will. I'm something of an iron worker and traveling dude that goes around the states, basically making a mess of things, climbing TV towers. And in my off time, I like to talk to asshole crypto degenerates such as these gentlemen and ladies and you guys at the home at well. For those of you guys that don't know, also, we've got Zenith down here. He's something of a macroeconomics and budding legal expert. He's spent a lot of time recently learning a lot about how the legal system works, especially in regards to cryptocurrency. And then other than that, he pays attention a lot to macroeconomics and things. And for the folks at home who don't know, over here, we've got RG3, the captain of the Discourse Syndicate. RG3 is a famous Hexican. He's been in the Hexico space since the fucking beginning and traveling around. He hosts the Discord Syndicate, for those of you guys that aren't aware, over on youtube.com/@Discourse Syndicate, where they do the effing hangout every Friday. I'm pretty sure you guys do like streams in Czechoslovakian occasionally. There's like Hispanic streams sometimes. You guys do all sorts of cool things, but basically it's a super cool place for Hexicans to go and hang out, and I highly suggest that you guys all go become a part of that stuff going on over there. But gentlemen, in case I've missed anything in my introduction, who are you and what's new and exciting with you? We're going to start with my co-host, Mr. Zenith. And Zenith, if you'll toss it on over to RG3 once you're done, we'll see what's going on with everyone. How you doing, bud? What's up?
Good to see everybody as well. This is going to be a very fun show tonight, especially because we're deviating a little bit from the standard schedule, but we're more than happy to do so for our good friend RG3, especially considering we got a very, very big week ahead of us. So yeah, other than the usual stuff, we're getting ready to leave for New York City coming up soon and just trying to square all the circles before we get out of here. But yeah, that's what I got. Captain, how we doing?
Absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. How are you doing?
Dude, we're killing it over here. We're super stoked for everything going on. And I know my traditional, I guess you can call it a bit of a doomer sentiment, especially working in the government sector, which is that once you hit November, nothing really happens until January. Which is that
we're dead in the water from here until
exactly. It's
if
that
the
black
hole
hole
up on my house. I know that it's over with.
Exactly. It's like Halloween is that last holiday where we're like, yeah, I still got like a week or two of productivity ahead of me. And then after that, we just move into Thanksgiving, all the travel, and then all the December holidays, Christmas and everything going on there. And then you have that like awkward dead week between Christmas and New Year's. And then you have New Year's. And then everyone comes back on January 2nd. You're like, all right, now I have to remember everything that I wasn't doing in the last month and a half. So yeah. That's traditional space. Other than that, in the crypto space, there might be a possibility of a Santa rally, is what one of our good friends, Agent J over here at DRT, is saying. It's possible, I think. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that one. But other than that, yeah, it's crazy to say, but we're almost getting ready to close up shop for the fiscal year, shall we say?
The fucking Santa rally.
That's what's going on. 100, you nailed it, man. I mean, every year for me, you know, I've been married for multiple decades, and every year it's I dread opening up the attic and getting all the Christmas stuff out and putting the lights up, you know, and it was like after it turned out after about a few years of marriage, it was like after the weekend after Thanksgiving was lights and decoration, right? That was it. The weekend after Thanksgiving, okay, you can have it. Well, then it ended up, hey, you know, fall's here, Thanksgiving. I want stuff out and festive for Thanksgiving. And so it just kept getting pushed. I don't do the lights anymore. So I won't climb up on the ladder and do the lights, and too old for that, right? You know, I put my son up there last couple of years. I was like, you know, now I'm endangering his life, and I won't go up there no more. So you know what? Time to hire somebody to do it. So for the last like 3 years, I've hired somebody to do the lights. Well, because she doesn't have to ask me anymore, she got the guy out here early. My lights are already up on my house for the last week. Now I told her you can't turn them on. It's fine that they're there, but yeah, it just gets pushed further. It's going to be summertime. We're going to be getting ready for Christmas, I think, before long.
It's entirely possible. I mean, for one of the book clubs we did recently, we covered a book by Aaron Clary. I know he's an economist, but he also kind of like doubles up as an actuary. And he made like a real life calculation about like, is it worth it to have a house that is more than one story? Because if you got to go up on the roof and fix things, there is a actual metric and calculation that you can make to be like, what is the cost benefit analysis to cleaning the gutters, to hanging Christmas decorations, to cleaning the chimney or whatever. It's like, it's at a certain point, that becomes a real calculation.
Yeah, I think he did that. That was in Bachelor Pad Economics, wasn't it? Which we covered moderately recently.
Yeah, he made the case for the single story ranch house. And, you know, it's a good case. I'll admit that.
I love it. Yeah. Speaking of things being good, and speaking of making a case, I'm going to make a case real quick that we do some chat motherfucking shout outs where we call out the folks at home and send our love to those that are sending their love to us. We appreciate everybody that watches this show, whether you guys are catching us live or on the replay. We love every single one of you, but we especially love the ones that interact with us and give us that good feedback. And we're going to recognize you guys by pulling up your chats and things. So, Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and pull up some chat shoutouts. First and foremost, we've got none other than the great Funk Master Hex saying, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening to you too, sir. I will hold up my coffee mug, and I guess it's like 7:15 over here where I'm at in I think I'm in Mississippi right now. So I'm going to drink some fucking coffee, and it's time to drive all goddamn night. But Funk Master Hex, good to see you, broski. Glad that you could make it. Funk Master Hex is a classic Hexican. You guys will see him all over the space doing all sorts of crazy, good motivational stuff. And he's always got that drink at the very end of every one of his little sayings. So shout out to you, Mr. Funk Master Hex. Up next in the chat shoutouts, we've got Ken Turian 54X. When the captain comes to take over DRT. What's up, D-Gens? Hope everyone had a good weekend. Looks like green candles are back, hopefully to stay. That's right. We did take over the captain's stream last week, and now the captain's taking over our stream this week. This is such an excellent relationship that we got over here. We love to fucking see it. Thank you, Kenturian, for that excellent chat, and shout out also to Captain for joining us as well. Next up in the chat shoutouts, we've got my brother Samuel Stevenson. Like the video, he's absolutely right. Shout out to Sam. He did a stream earlier today for his Scrutinizing Sundays where he goes through all of the lessons that he's learned in business over the past week, and he talks about how he's going to implement new plans and things. So go check him out at Samuel D. Stevenson or Rapid Designs on YouTube. I can't remember which it is, but I will find you guys a link at some point. Sam, if you could send me the link in Telegram, I'll make sure to post it up in the live chats for the folks at home. Next up in chat shoutouts, we've got Moonpilled Rational Optics saying, what's up, D-Gens? What's up to you too, good sir? Moonpilled Rational Optics is a real life friend of mine. I've met him before. He's a super cool cat. I highly recommend you guys meet him if you ever have the opportunity. What's up to you too, Mr. Moonpilled Rational Optics? Nice to see you, amigo. Next up in chat shoutouts, it looks like we have the very own Tam Tam. Tam Tam says, what's up, fam? What's up to you too, Tam? Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it. And I do believe that is what we got going on. Oh, they're talking about houses down there in the chat shoutouts. Funny, Zero Men care about holiday decorations. There's a I've got a theory to that, and perhaps I'm a bit sexist. My theory is that women like to be communal, and women like to do the things that other women are doing, and women also like having fancy houses. So you combine all three of those things together, and you got women excited about celebrating the festivities and what's going on, and also like comparing their stuff to other women to determine like who's the highest in the women pecking order as far as fancy houses go. That's my chauvinistic take on the whole thing, but perhaps I'm just a little bit too far gone and a little bit too jaded.
For being the self-proclaimed marketing guy over here, you are slapping some labels on there, my man.
I'm certainly slapping some labels. I'm trying to ruffle some feathers and see if we can get some indignance going on, because people watch our show not only for value, but also for entertainment. So if I'm pissing someone off, then I'm doing a good job, because, hey, love me or hate me, you're still thinking about me. So shout out to all the ladies out there that are making the houses fantastic and lovable and great to be inside. We love you guys doing it. We don't like being a part of it. We like you doing all the work, or hiring someone else to do the work, as RG3 says. That's fucking brilliant, bro. I like where you're going with that. So that's excellent.
Light thing, no, at least getting the light thing knocked out is, the best. And then, there's also like, you got to play like, gosh, if this gets seen, I'm dead. You got to play like you don't like it so much, like you're just silent. You got the mad silent on where you're getting everything out of the attic, and you're putting it all out. So that way you don't get asked to like put the things on the tree and the lights in the house and the setup and all that. You just like, there, I got it all out. Here it is for you, without saying anything, just that attitude, and they leave you alone. And they're like, okay, he got out the stuff. Now let's have our little party and drink our eggnog and our cocoa, and do the thing while he's over there pissed off in the other room watching television.
That's funny. I like it. Mrs. Bruce, we've actually had two more chat shout-outs show up. So shout out to Moonpilled Rational Optics, who's had the honor of sharing drinks with both Zenith and myself. I will agree. Moonpill is a super cool and awesome guy. So shout out to Moonpill. But we've also had, oh, shoot, look at that. 3 people have shown up. First up is Ben Ledesma saying, Degens unite. It's moon time. Hex, let's fucking go. I agree, Ben. Welcome. Let's fucking go. I like these prices when they're down because I can buy, and I like the prices when they're high because then I can take profits. So I'm down for anything, even chopping sideways, because then I can just, DCA longer. So sounds great. Next up in chat shoutouts, we've got our very own Wild SJ appears and then vanishes because she's at dinner. She's going to catch the replay. Love to have you, SJ. Welcome, and I hope you enjoy this replay, gang. Let me know your thoughts on decorating. I would love to hear them. After that, we've got US Crypto Boogie Semper Fi to Crypto Boogie. Like the video, monkeys. Look at that sexy man wearing his beautiful, beautiful hat over there and drinking his Hex coffee cup, just like Zenith. Crypto Boogie, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys ever want to know anything about guns or cryptocurrency, you ask that man. He's super clever. If you want to learn about marksmanship training, come talk to me. But if you want to learn about guns themselves, Crypto Boogie is he's a fucking genius. So shout out to you, Crypto Boogie. Thanks for hopping on in the space and the conversation, and glad to have you here with us now. And I do believe that actually takes care of the chat shout outs now that we're caught up 20 minutes into the show and everything. So gentlemen, Zenith, you said you had some cool prompts and questions and things for this show. I want to go ahead and toss that over to you, bro. What's
one
cooking?
last thing I'd like to say about the Christmas decoration before we kill.
Oh yeah.
Is that even though I don't like putting it up as early as it is right now, and it's a pain in the ass, I do enjoy it for that 1 month in December when it's up and the family's around and we're having the tamale parties and all that stuff. It's nice then. But yeah, it is a pain in the ass. So yes, appreciation for it, but yeah.
It's
excellent.
It's definitely a community thing. It's an immersion thing, and it definitely creates the feelings and the vibes, shall we say. But yeah, there's no denying that there's an actual amount of manual labor that goes into it. So
yes,
can't
so now I'm gonna get serious because you guys are the smart ones. I'm gonna put on my Mr. Threes here, and
hey,
now we're gonna have some serious talk, right? And now you can see.
Oh, I got some very serious talk coming up.
I kind of want to dwell a little bit on the Christmas things more, because what you said, Captain, that reminded me of something that, like, the more work you put into something, the more value it has. Whether it's decorating a house, whether it's taking the shells off of a pistachio, whether it's staking your hex, whether it's streaming about cool cryptocurrencies you like, whether it's tweeting about, you know, the things that your community can do, whether it's organizing events, the more effort and the more energy that you sacrifice into a thing, or the more like another example would be like buying sports ball merch. Like if your favorite sports ball team is doing really good and you buy like a sports ball team t-shirt, you're sacrificing energy and value into the thing that makes that whole brand worth more. So like when you decorate your house, when you do all these things, when you're doing the proof of work, right, you make things more valuable. And that's something that I learned a little bit from like learning about Bitcoin and learning about Ethereum and how proof of work and proof of stake, like how they actually bring value to a thing by the simple fact that it's like a scale, and people are sacrificing value on one side, and that kind of like creates value on the other simply because they've put something into it. You know,
Well,
it's like if you
would you
sit
say
there with the
that's-
sledgehammer breaking rocks, you're going to value the gravel that you create more so than if you just go to the store and buy a bunch of gravel. Continue with your thought, Zenith.
I guess, as I say, would you call that more of emotional investment, or dare I say, sunk cost fallacy?
100%, bro. But like, we can't stop ourselves from valuing things that we sacrifice value into. So like that's you're absolutely correct. And like I like to reframe it as proof of work, because it's simply like when you make something cost something, it becomes more valuable simply because you have to sacrifice something in order to get it. So like, yeah, it's totally sunk cost fallacy, 100%. But like, your lizard brain's not going to accept that rationalization. It's going to be like, I like this thing more. And your rational brain could be like, I need to go away. But your lizard brain's going to rule the day at the end of the moment. You got some RG3?
Well, it's like buying an action figure and not taking it out of the box and leaving it in the box, leaving it encased, and then waiting 35, 40 years before you put it on the market or sell it or put it up in your case and say, look what I got. You know, look at what it's valued on eBay as, you know, or so it's the same thing. You use time, energy, effort, money, whatever it is, you know, all of those things. You put the value.
I've got a book that I'm writing about that exact notion, RG3. It's called The Ledgers Must Balance, bit.ly/ The Ledger Must Balance. If anyone wants to read it. Right now it's rough draft. It's all AI. Like, it's just my idea that I put to paper, and I got to go through it and refine it. I got a good friend that's helping me out with that. I'm going to basically dictate my thoughts to her, and then she's going to help me like rewrite the actual book. It's super cool, super awesome English teacher friend of mine. But yeah, it's like the whole idea of there's more than just money as like a value system. There's time, like you had said. There's like the attention of like staring at that action figure sitting on the shelf, and like you can't play with it. You can't, like, you have to be patient. You can't touch it. You got to like literally dust it off all the time to like clean it and make sure that it stays good. Like, there's a whole bunch of different value systems that you sacrifice into this action figure sitting in the box under the auspice that like one day it's going to be worth a whole lot of stuff, you know? So this is a, man, I think I could talk about this for days and things, but I don't know. Do any of you guys have any thoughts on this stuff before we move on to the next topic and stuff? We've got a couple comments I'll ask to bring up, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts.
I just want to say that I am offended by this entire conversation. You guys are picking on the things that I do right now.
Boo,
good.
Mrs. Producer, boo.
But you enjoy doing this stuff.
Very true. I'm also offended by the Christmas light thing that you said women might get offended by. I don't remember what you said though, to be honest.
Good. That was the goal. Yes, exactly. That's bait. What's that? That like Tom Hardy, like, that's bait.
Great bait, mate.
Yep, I rate it 8 out of 8. We've got some comments here. Actually, Mrs. Producer, would you mind pulling up Moonpill Rational Optics, the proof of work? Proof of work is putting the lights up at Christmas. Proof of stake is putting the sign in the yard so you don't break your neck climbing the ladder.
Now we're talking.
That is excellent. And then my brother made a silly comment after that. Oh my goodness, I don't know if we should pull this up. I'm going to marry a woman and wait 30 years before I have sex with her. It'll be super special once I finally do.
What?
Oh my God, Sam!
Is that the action figure comment?
No, he's making fun of us right now.
Yes, he was relating it to the action figure idea.
Yep, Sam is fucking. I love my brother. He's fucking hilarious. Great dude. Y'all should go check him out. I've dropped his link. But
We gotta
anyways,
get- we got to get Sam to come out to Vegas next year. That was a blast last year, and I hope he comes out next year again.
something tells me that that's rather likely. Oh, did we shout out Moonmutt earlier? I don't think we've shouted out Moonmutt. On the subject of chat shoutouts, before we move on, Moonmutt is another real life friend of mine. Shout out to you, Moonmutt. Good to be here with my Degen friends tonight. Sir, it is excellent to have you here with us as well. Welcome to the channel. Glad we could have you. All right. Oh, and now we've got beyond. Man, these chats just keep pouring in, don't they? Crazy the court date is right at the corner, and it's followed by Trump win. What a time to be alive and in the RH ecosystem. Man, there's some excellent. Nothing is guaranteed.
You got to get out and vote.
Yep,
You can't rest on the laurels.
I sure do feel good with everything that's going on, both in like the Richard Hart money ecosystem and also in the political system. Now, granted, I'm eating a very narrow and focused diet of like what I'm like mental diet, the stuff that I'm consuming, the content that I'm listening to that basically just reinforces these things. So like there's some nuance to be had there, and I recognize that I'm basically just like living inside of my own little bubble, consuming things that I only like. But that's important in life. You need to curate your consumption because your mental diet is just as important as your physical and your spiritual diet. So
there you go.
Anyways, enough of that. I want to give the floor to Zenith because you've done some cool stuff for this show, Mr. Sir. So why don't you go ahead and throw at us what you have?
Absolutely. Mrs. Producer, if you do not mind, I have a screen share for us here. All right. Welcome to the DRT edition of Chatting with the Captain. Not to bury the lead here, but we are going to New York City next week. All three of us are going to be there. Actually, all four of us, including Mrs. Producer. So just throwing that out there. But we wanted to do a little choose your own adventure and get to know Captain a little bit more and understand what your personal tastes are. And have you been to New York City before?
I've been there a couple times, yes.
Oh, a couple times. What were we there for previously?
We were there for our event, for our Brooklyn event that we did last summer.
Okay, very nice. Yeah. I like it. All right, so let's start it off with this. Captain, how do we get to New York City? Are we flying into LaGuardia, or are we going over to Jersey? Which side of the Hudson are we going to land on? What's your airport take here?
Oh, geez. I don't know the topography, so all I can tell you is I'm flying into JFK.
JFK? All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm pretty sure that's LaGuardia, but
I'm pretty sure that LaGuardia. You see that both sides of the runway have nothing but ocean on them. Like that's the river that's around.
Right?
Yeah. So like, there's been a lot of back in the day, there was a lot of airplanes that overshot the runway before they really figured out their flying technology. And there's a lot of there's a number greater than 0 of planes that have kersploosh and then did a little bit of a diving. We don't have that problem anymore, so you guys don't have to worry about that. And I'm fairly certain that it is LaGuardia, but there's also JFK. But I've flown into Newark before.
Do you have a preference?
I don't like to fly. I don't like the way that I don't like how they treat you in airplanes.
Well, that's in general, but I'll say this much. I've done both. I think that Newark, every time I've been in New York, it has been under construction. And it's slightly inconvenient. However, getting picked up at the curbside in LaGuardia is the most inconvenient thing I think I've ever done in my life. So for that, I'm going to give it to the dirty Jers. I'm flying into Newark.
Hey, I mean, Newark's not bad, man. Newark is it'll be less stressful than Brooklyn, so you have that going on.
Fair enough. All right, Cap, we've picked the airport. We got off the plane. We're in Manhattan now after our whatever transit. The first question is, what are we having? Are we getting a slice of pizza? Or are we hitting that hot dog stand? What are we doing?
All right. So, hate to talk in third person, but the captain is on a diet. The European tour has absolutely crushed me. I've gained 30 pounds this last year, and not all bad. I mean, I've been kind of bulking, but really bulking. And now I've over the last month, I've gotten really serious on my diet and my training regimen with my trainer, and I'm actually doing peptides to get myself into longevity stuff and get myself in shape get all the numbers right, because once you start at my age, you start gaining weight like that. I get to this part of 200 pounds and blood pressure goes up, triglycerides go up, cholesterol goes up. You know, all of the indicators of you're dying, bro, start going up. Sugar levels, everything, and not to a point where it's like hospital time or drug time or whatever, but I have been told, you know, hey, your sugar level's getting lower. Maybe we can put you on some, you know, some of this here or that there. And it's like, no, nope. Doing it with diet, doing it with, you know, supplements and all that kind of stuff. So for me, I don't trust me. I will. New York pizza, one of the Rays. I got to figure out which Rays to go to, but I'm going to go get me a slice for sure while I'm out there.
All right. I like it. Will, what you got?
I already put in the comments what my thing would be. I said pork and los dos. Why not both use the pizza as the hot dog bun? You roll that bad boy up. Problem solved. Best of both worlds. And then you don't have to fold the pizza. You could turn it into a little pizza roll. And then there you go. If I had to choose between the two, though, I would definitely go hot dog, because pizza is basically, yeah, pizza's fucking fancy bread, and then a hot dog's like a proper taco.
Oh, bro,
that is a hot take if I've ever heard one.
Bread is this way. Bread is cool. Bread is awesome, but like hot dogs are meat. You know, so like if I have to choose between bread and meat, I'm probably going to go with the meat option.
My man, a slice of New York style pepperoni pizza.
Sure.
Nothing beats it. I'm going pizza all day long.
Well, let's talk about
to each their own.
Let's talk about that bread real quick, because
my
I learned this.
Figure going.
My buddies, when I was back in my Hollywood days, they were from New York. They were from Long Island. And they were always raving about the New York pizza. Oh, the New York pizza, man! This stuff is garbage out here. And one of them actually ended up. He owns the 909 Club and another pizza place in Hollywood. Made it really big from this. But it's the difference in a New York pizza, in which they taste different. There is a different taste to a New York pizza than any pizza anywhere else, especially on the West Coast. Our West Coast pizzas, even though we have good pizza here, there are some places. The pizza in New York is different. Now, I asked my friend back in those days, you know, what's the big difference? And he figured it out himself, and he said, it's the fucking water, man. It's the water. Our water is different. And it changes the dough. It changes how it cooks. It's the water and the climate. So he and some others out here do it now. They get water from New York and bring it in here to make their pizza dough. They literally do that just to change the taste of it. So yeah, there's something different and special about New York pizzas.
I've heard the water argument before, and I've heard the same argument when it comes to the Sam Adams Brewery up in Boston, which is that for the Boston lager, very specifically, they try to replicate the Boston tap water, try to get the pH, the hardness, all the minerals exactly the same so they can replicate it throughout the United States. But for the pizza, the other thing that I've heard, other than the water, is that it's the actual ovens themselves. If you get an authentic wood-fired oven pizza, the thing that makes it taste different than everything else, it's going to be subtle for sure. So if you're not a pizza connoisseur, I can understand if you overlook it. But the fact that those ovens are ancient, like literally over 100 years old, and they have all of those pizzas that have gone through the reps and put the grease and the smoke and the dough and all that flavor, it's been cooked into it entirely. It's like a smoker at that point, and it will imbue a little bit of that authentic oven taste into the pizza. That's
100%, because that's the other thing that they did is they brought their ovens. They bought used ovens from New York.
There we go.
From New York, and brought them into their pizzerias out here. So, yeah, that's why, more than likely, why they did that. Now that you say that, I'm like, oh yeah. And they said, yeah, we imported our ovens that we bought from old ovens that had closed pizza shops, from back in New York. So they must all know about what that means. And it's a different tasting pie than it is out here in Cali.
Oh, for sure. It's a process too. It takes time. Yeah. All right, we got the food down. So now that we're in Brooklyn, how are we getting out? How are we getting around? Are we taking a cab? Or are we taking the subway? What are we doing?
So when I traveled Europe, I learned how to use the subways and the train systems, and they are bad ass. I love it. Now, I used to always be a car guy, and I thought taxi cab, Ubers, all that stuff, right? But getting on them subways gets you places quick. You know, if you learn the subway systems and the train systems, especially in Europe, you're good to go. And it's cheap. Very, very cheap.
True. That's true.
I like cheap.
All right, Will. Will, how you getting around? Mr. Will Stevenson.
That's how I'm doing it, baby.
He's driving himself. All right.
That's my steering wheel, bro. I'm not fucking trusting no cabbies. I've been in the subway. All right. It's an experience. Sure. I like sovereignty. I don't like being around a whole bunch of crazy motherfuckers. And I'm also not terribly fond of confined spaces. I don't mind hanging out 2,000 feet up in the air, but I don't like going underground if I can avoid it. That's something that I am not terribly fond of. So relying on third party to move me around all over the place, like, I recognize that I'm going to do a bad job of traveling, but I'm going to be the one that's doing it, for fuck's sake. Like, I don't like trusting the subways. I don't like trusting the cab drivers. I've got to put my money where my mouth is and stick with the sovereignty option. So, like, the subways are cool, but they're not for me.
Fair enough. I have driven in Manhattan. I have driven in Brooklyn, and I am with Cap on this one. The subway is the way to do it. The surface streets are jacked up, especially during the times that you want to be moving around. Yeah, it's subway for me. And I think we got some people in the chat agreeing with us. Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, we got Brown Conservative Capitalist 1. He's saying subway in New York is the best way. We got Beyond All saying eat subway, use subway. There we go. And we got Moonpill Rational Optics. Euro subways are nicer than the cage match subway that is New York City. Agreed. Very much agreed. I'm not comparing the two, but
to counter Will, you know, not to strike an argument, but just to counter him
Sure.
on how he feels about it.
Sure.
See, I feel the opposite. When I rode the subways in Europe, I learned so much about the people. I became like part of the social atmosphere, being in those subways, watching the people coming home from work while I was out, you know, gallivanting, traveling, and just sightseeing and whatnot, and getting from here to there and meeting other Hexkins and crypto folks and whatnot. I was interacting with these people that were on a day-to-day working, you know, sitting in the subway, relaxing. Some of them would strike up conversations, tell me a better place to eat that night or a better place to go, or, oh yeah, you know, you don't want to go there. What are you guys doing today? And you're going over here. And no, you should just a couple blocks over. There's this. So I learned a lot on the subways and just talking to the people and socializing and feeling more and more like part of the European community, just spending time on the subways. And that was one of the unexpected kind of benefits of it for me.
You know, one might call that intelligence gathering.
Yes.
Yep.
Intel.
I would say that you're absolutely correct. But those things are not important to me in New York City. I would do that in another country. But
New Yorkers,
he
didn't mean that. He didn't mean that at you personally, New Yorkers.
What do you think causes more bites per year, New Yorkers or sharks?
I know the answer, but
I know the answer too. I know the answer too, and it's not by a single factor of 10. I'm pretty sure it's by a factor of 100. So it's like a 100x difference between the two. So like, I don't know. I see New York as like a semi-friendly place of violence where they're trying to take things away from me. Now I have a little bit of a different approach to things that I do in life. And I have a bit of a different perspective. I have had an excellent time in New York. Like, New York is cool, but I think that I like my systems and they work well for me. So while I appreciate your guys' input, you are correct. It's not the tool that I'm going to be using. Some folks still prefer to use the screwdriver rather than the drill, even though the drill can be better.
That's fair. All right, gentlemen, we got some food. We know how we're getting around. Let's do some sightseeing. So.
Okay.
We got a little time to kill. We want to relax. Captain, are we going to the Brooklyn Waterfront Park, or are we going to Central Park to just chill out? What are we doing?
I'm going to Central Park because I'm staying next to Central Park. The last time that I was there, I was at the Brooklyn Bridge, did the whole eatery area down there with the Ferris, or not the Ferris wheel, the merry-go-round. What do they call it? Yeah. The carousel. The carousel.
Is that that's not Point Pleasant, is it? I want to say that's Jersey for some reason.
I couldn't tell you.
Someone's gonna correct me in the chat. I believe it.
But yeah, there's
I know what you're
a
talking
carousel place to eat, and I was there with Corey, the investor, and some others, and we hung out, and we had a nice time over there. But this time I want to go to Central Park because I've been to New York a few times, but I've never seen Central Park, and I want to go and cruise it because I finally looked at an aerial shot of it. And I'm like, my gosh, this is massive amount of park space in this massive city. This is incredible. I got to go check this out. So yeah, Central Park for me.
I dig it. All right, Mr. Will Stevenson, what are we doing?
Man, that's a tough choice because I'm skeptical about the quality of the ocean, having been all over the States to all the wonderful oceans, and I'm skeptical about the park because it's in the middle of Manhattan. Yeah.
The water's not great. Let's be real.
I think that I would probably
river. Let's be honest.
I would probably there's a lot of concrete bricks tied to shoes down there. I bet. I would probably go to Central Park. That's probably what I would do.
All right, boys. I think I'm joining you for the clean sweep. I think Central Park is the way to go. I love some fresh sea breeze, but I don't.
Let's see if we can find some bears too. You'll see.
I want to hear Mrs. Mrs. Producer's thoughts on this as well. Do you have a plan for when you go over there as well with Nate, Mrs. Producer?
Yeah, I wanted to throw in. I'm going to try and go to the Pokemon Center. The Pokemon Center in New York is one of the few that exists in America. They're all over Japan, but they're just recently starting to finally come out here, like the physical versions of them, instead of just like the website. And that's in New York, New York. I'm not sure if we're going to make it out there, but I really want to.
I mean, we're going to be in New York the whole time, so I don't know where the Pokemon. I'm going to actually Google that real quick while we go for a quick little break from me talking because I'm kind of curious where that's at.
One of the other things I'm doing while I'm there is I've got tickets to go see the Johnny Depp Museum, his art exhibit. Not his museum, but his art exhibit. He's got an art exhibit open there now. So.
Very cool, very cool. There is a lot to see in New York, I will say. You can spend a lot of time there checking out museums, checking out places, checking out restaurants, bars, whatever you want. So we'll keep this going, by the way. Up next, we got, speaking of things to see, would you rather go check out Times Square or do we want to go check out the stock exchange over on Wall Street and see the bull?
Stock exchange.
I'll go to the stock exchange. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
You guys, the stock exchange.
I've been there before. It's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
The stock exchange is super cool, man. There's a lot of people. The bull is impressive. It's not in like a crazy big space either. It's kind of sneaky, where it's located at. But it's cool. I would definitely go back and see the bull for sure.
I would say as much as well. I've done both. And I will say, every time I go back to Times Square, it's kind of like a weird experience, especially considering for the folks that have been to Vegas and done the Strip, and you see all the people that are like, oh yeah, we're like performers and whatnot, come take pictures with us. And you take a picture, and they look at you and you'd be like, that'll be $25, please. And you're like, this doesn't sound like a request. Yeah, there's similar stuff in Times Square too. So I think taking the picture with the bull, that's what I'm doing.
Yes, definitely.
Hell yeah.
All right, up next, we got another one. All right, we want to go see some American icons. So, on the left, we have the favorite, the classic, the Statue of Liberty. And on the right, we have the USS Intrepid, a.k.a. the active Air and Space Museum. Which one are we going to, gentlemen?
Man, I got to choose between them. I'd probably choose the... Sorry, RG3, go ahead. I think I was talking on you there.
No, I just said that's a hard one for me too.
Yeah. So I would probably go to the Air and Space Museum because I've seen the Statue of Liberty from. I told you guys earlier I was working on a tower on the New Jersey side, and I could see the Statue of Liberty, and it wasn't as cool as I thought it would be. But I know for a fact that a carrier is fucking huge, so I'd go see the carrier. I think. I mean, I would love to see the statue for sure. Don't get me wrong; like that's still a pretty impressive thing. But if I had to choose between them, I'd probably go to the carrier.
True. Kat, what do you think?
Yeah, that's hard, but carrier.
Carrier.
Back to
Fair
the
enough.
roots, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a dirty little secret.
Like I
But
can drive
the
by and
secret-
see the Statue of Liberty and be cool with it. Like I don't have to go there. Like I can. Oh, there it is. That's awesome. And then spend time at the carrier.
True. Exactly. The dirty little secret about the Statue of Liberty is that it's not as large as all the movies would lead you to believe. It is a reasonably sized statue, but even then, it is still a massive statue in comparison to everything else. But at the end of the day, it can only be so tall. And I'm personally also a little biased towards the USS Intrepid because they have some cool stuff over there. I know they have one of the Concords. You can see it in the picture there on the end of the pier. And then on the Intrepid, I'm pretty sure they still have an SR. Oh God, someone's gonna roast me. SR-72 Blackbird.
71.
71.
Is it
thank you.
SR-72 or yeah? Okay.
71
Black
Blackbird.
Hawk. Blackbird. Yeah.
Blackbird. Here you go. Blackhawk's the helicopter. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But
Blackhawk's
they
helicopter.
also, they have a lot of other cool stuff on there. This might be a bit of a boomer take, but I really think I really like the F-4 Phantom. It's a Vietnam era aircraft, but I just think it looks super cool. And they have one there, and I definitely want to go see it again. I've had the opportunity to go see this once before, and I also actually, when I was doing that, I anchored up on a ship. We anchored off of the Statue of Liberty, and that's how we realized, oh wow, it's not as big as you think. So I will say, I think USS Intrepid is the way to go. It's a good time.
Oh yeah.
Down.
All right, gentlemen, we have to close off the evening, have a bit of a nightcap. What are we doing? Are we going to see a show on Broadway? Or are we going to see a concert at the Garden? Madison
the
Square
Garden.
That is.
Garden.
Easy.
Garden.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
Concert,
go with
fight,
this one.
anything.
Fight
Yep.
too. Oh yeah, there's some good. I'm a bit of a UFC fan, which means I'm slightly depressed after what happened last night in Abu Dhabi, where both my boy Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whitaker got choked out in the first round, and the legend himself, the BMF, or I guess former BMF now, Max Holloway got knocked out in, what was that, round 3 by Ilya Topuria. It's like, one of the working theories I have for my UFC sports betting this year is maximum pain theory. So whatever I don't want to see happen the most is the most likely outcome. Maximum pain theory has been it's been hitting above like 75% this year, which is unfortunate. But I think the sentiment between the three of us, which is Madison Square Garden, it's iconic. It's something to behold, and there's great shows there for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Broadway's awesome, but like, it's probably people dancing around in suits and singing at each other versus like a fight or a concert, which is also people dancing around in tights singing at each other, but it's with the lights out, you know. So how cool is that? That's what I think.
It's
Mrs. Producer,
dancing
do you have
around
a
with sweat, testosterone, and violence is what it is.
yes?
There we go.
The other
The
side
violence
is
versus the peace and love.
it's emotions, dancing, and
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Mrs. Producer, do you have a preference if you had to choose between
Oh, shit, I keep
Broadway
thinking he's back there.
or the Garden? She's hiding at the very bottom.
Yeah, I'm down here. Hi.
Hello.
I'm not sure what either of these are, to be honest with you. I mean, Broadway seems self-explanatory. That's probably where they do all the Broadway plays.
Yep,
I
that is correct.
don't think I've heard of the Garden. What is that?
It's a big. It's kind of what it looks like right there. It's essentially just a giant theater where they put on concerts, they put on MMA fights, they put on boxing matches. It's basically mostly for fighting.
It's a
All right, I'm probably gonna go Broadway then.
That makes sense.
Fair enough.
I like it.
A little more culturally refined, some might argue. But all right.
I've got a
That is what I got
if you're-
for our pick your own adventure.
awesome, because I have another part of the show, which is everyone's favorite part of the show, which is chat motherfucking shoutouts. So, Mrs. Producer, I see you've done a fantastic job bringing the screens back to normal. Whenever you get a moment to do the chat picking up-ins, let's go ahead and wander on in and say hi to the new folks, and also I'm sure that plenty of people have the thoughts on things that we've been covering. Starting off with the Brown Conservative Capitalist, LaGuardia and JFK are 2 different airports. That is correct. I believe they're both over on like the Brooklyn Island or the Queens Island or so. Oh yeah, both in Queens. Okay, excellent. Yes, both in Queens over across the water. So outstanding. Good to see you, Brown Conservative Capitalist. Welcome to the show. Next up, we've got Mr. Bright Light Crypto saying, "What up, Cap? Cap, do you have any words for Mr. Brightlight Crypto? Shout out to Brightlight, by the way. He has got an excellent show he does.
How you doing, Brightlight? I got to check that out.
Yeah. He does a lot of TA and like liquidity, and he looks at different ecosystems and things on his stream. So shout out to our good friend Brightlight. We often post our little stream channel of the DRT when he goes live and stuff. And I think that he does a pretty good job of posting it as well. So good to see you, Brightlight. Welcome to the show. Next up for the chat shoutouts, we've got none other than the Mr. Brissology. I heard that European food doesn't make people fat. Only American food does that. You know, there's probably a lot of truth to that. There's probably a lot of truth to that.
Eating European food like an American gets you fat.
Yes, that is also true. Carbohydrates are carbohydrates no matter where you go, and so are sugars. Go ahead, Mrs. Producer.
They serve you smaller portions and whatnot. So yeah, but
I just wanted to add in, he's got a very good point there. I had a friend, maybe not European, I don't know anything about them really, but I had a friend who went to Vietnam, and he posted pictures of his meals every single day, what they were eating out there. Crazy stuff. Tons of pastas, tons of like things that you would think would be pretty bad for you. He lost 30 pounds in a month.
Shit.
And
Good
then
for him.
came back out here, and I'm like, how? And it's just like the only thing he can figure is it's got to be the difference of ingredients.
That's a lot of weight to lose in 1 month. That is almost unhealthy. Like, that is crazy. 30 pounds in a month. Good for him, though. Good for fucking him. That is absolutely nuts. I wonder, man, one thing that I recommend to people is to stay away from like the pastas and the breads and the sugars and things. That'll take you pretty far in America. But you know, like I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a nutritionist. I can only speak to what works for me. Like sticking to the outside of the grocery stores, going to like the produce, the dairy, the meat, and like avoiding like the bread and the sugars and all the chips and all the canned stuff in the middle of the aisles and everything. If you just walk around the outside of the grocery stores, you're pretty good. Like as long as you ignore the bread section. But that's just the experience that I've had. So shout out to you, Mr. Brissology, and good points there. Next up in the chat shoutouts, we've got Mr. Chad Donnerschwanz. Hello, fellow base crypto bros. Here after the Trump rally. Let's fucking go. That's awesome, dude. I'm glad to hear that you were able to make it to the Trump rally. Good shit, amigo. I hope you had an excellent time. I hear that the energy at those things is just absolutely powerful, and everyone's excited. Everyone's having a good time. So glad to see that you're doing great and things of that nature. Next up in chat shoutouts, we've got none other than Crypto Kool-Aid. Ahoy! Ahoy to you too, good sir. Welcome. Good to see you, Kool-Aid. Glad to have you in the chats and with us here live as well. After
Glad
that,
Kool-Aid can make it, because I know the man has been slaving away. He's been involved in the Pulsar launch, and he's doing all the other projects that I think Discourse Syndicate is launching that he's a part of. So he's staying busy. Always a pleasure to see him, man.
While also doing his day job, like Kool-Aid finds a way to squeeze 26 hours of work out of a 24-hour day. I don't know how the hell he does it, but yeah, he is just, shout out to Kool-Aid, a mover and a shaker. That man is just, he is made of sterner stuff. So good to see you, Kool-Aid. Welcome. Glad to have you with us here. After that, we've got Mr. Russ with his little puppy dog picture. The future is bright. Abso-fucking-lutely. The future is most certainly bright, Russ. Thank you for being here with us today. I am looking forward to damn near everything that's going on right now. And even if things don't turn out the way that I anticipate, I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic nonetheless. After that, we've got none other than Jonathan. It's me. I'm back. Good to see you, Jonathan. Good to know that you're back. We've missed you over in the Degen Roundtable chats and things, so welcome back to the world of the living. I don't know where you went, but I'm glad that you're back home with us. Zenith, do you know where he was? I see you came off mute or something.
I have no idea. I've been off mute. I'm just glad to see him, and I'm glad to see our last shout out of this one, I do believe. Crypto Compassion saying, hey, everyone. Good to see you, my man.
Yes, indeed it is. Good to see Crypto Compassion. Shout out to those guys. He's working with Vets in Crypto, and I believe Randy Hilarski and some other gentlemen. They're doing some cool things going on over there. So shout out to you guys and all your little projects and everything going on. Oh, look at that. We've had another one roll on in. We've got none other than Yellowtail saying, nice dreadlocks, RG3. Yes, RG3, I must admit, like, I can't remember when we were talking about your dreadlocks before you hopped in the green room, and we're like, how long have you had those? How long have you had the dreadlocks? It's been a couple months, right?
It's
been about
Burning Man, if I remember.
4 or 5 months. Yeah, it was right before Burning Man. About 4 months, about 3 months.
Okay.
So yeah, so I was growing my hair out, and then I was going to just do some braids for Burning Man, because the reason everybody has the braids and stuff is it's out of necessity, because when you're at Burning Man, the dust, the wind, your hair just gets destroyed. So having them locked up like that in braids makes it easy. Yeah, all you got to do is get a towel and wipe your head off, and you're good. And get the mud, the mud stains off, and you're good. But if you got hair, it just gets all nasty, and you end up with dreadlocks by the time the week's over anyway. So, but the gal I went to go get my braids done with, she actually, instead of cornrowing them, she said, "Hey, put dreads in it, be even cooler." And I was like, why not? So
that's awesome, bro.
Salt and pepper dreads to match my real hair, and I got about 9 inches of my hair that's all locked up now. So yeah, so it's cool. It's fun. We'll see when I get
That's
sick
super
of it.
cool. I like it. So is it like a woven in thing, or is like the entire dreadlock your hair?
Yeah, no, about 9 inches of it is mine.
Okay.
From the top of my head out, and then it locks into these dread extensions.
That's super cool. I love
And
it.
then what
Anytime I see
happens
someone with
is
dreadlocks,
your hair follows the same pattern and size, so eventually you just start snipping, and your hair ends up, the same
it is all
style.
That's cool, man. I love it. Every time I see someone with dreadlocks, I can't help but think of like Predator or something. That's so cool. I freaking love it.
When I was in Rome, I went to go to the Colosseum, and I put my hair all up on the top of my head, and I looked like it was coming out of the top of my head like some kind of a gladiator, freaking,
yeah, the old Centurion helmet thing.
Yeah,
that's
so
killer.
it was cool. It was fun.
Yeah, humble flex on us with going to Rome. That was that for Pulsechain tour?
Yeah, that was for Pulsechain tour. We were in. Well, I took my family to Rome, and then we jumped on a train and went up to Venice so that we can get on the tour ship with everybody. And so the family we vacationed in Rome for a few days, and then we took off to Venice and got on the ship and went down through Greece and Athens and all of the stuff there. They went to the Acropolis, and it was freaking awesome.
That sounds amazing. Italy is on my bucket list for places I want to go, and
yes,
Rome is definitely on that list for sure. All just the ancient history. The museums, everything going on there. I think the food is also going to be amazing there too. So
now, let me comment on the food.
All right.
And all over Europe, there's great food. And when I was out in the countryside in Italy, the food was insanely good. But in the cities that I was in, Venice and Rome, and it's funny, all the restaurants have like 3 staple pasta dishes, and then their margarita pizza, their margarita pizzas. And I just got sick of that, trying to okay, well, it's carbonara again. Oh, it's going to be a wood-fired margarita. Okay. And they always had the same thing over and over. So if you like pasta and pizza, that's what you're going to get in the big cities in Italy. Go out of the town, go out in the countryside, which I did get to do one time. I drove all the way through the countryside, going to Ferrari and then going to Bologna.
Oh, going to Maranello? Ah.
Yeah, I was
that's the other part of my bucket list there is I want to go up to the north part of Italy where the Ferrari factory is and go do some test drives on the racetrack out there. That's something I've always wanted to do.
Bro, so if you don't know the kind of the history, so the test track is across the street from the plant, and the plant is like, the gate is like historical. So when you go there and you drive up, you see the whole Ferrari gate and everything. It's very cool. Now, Schumacher, who was their guy, right? He would always go across the street and eat at this Italian restaurant called Mama Rosella's. And she hosts all Ferrari. They have a literal, in the back of the restaurant, they have a room where all the Ferrari execs go. Like, that's where she feeds them. And this lady makes the food every day. And that was her that was her guy. You know, is that his name? Schumacher, not Schumacher. The guy who got
Michael
paralyzed.
Schumacher. Oh,
Is that the one who?
Oh,
Oh
no,
my
no,
gosh.
the
The
was it the
Formula
guy
One
that they
ride-
made Formula One driver. He
didn't
crashed
crash a
during the
car, he
Nürburgring ring, got like burned on his face. Oh gosh.
No. I'm talking about their number one driver of all time. He crashed his skis and went into a coma, and he's been like a quadriplegic since for a long time. Oh, there's Crypto
Oh, my.
Stylist. She was actually out there with me when we did that. Gosh,
Oh,
what's his
shoot.
name? Somebody will put it in there in the chat. Maybe it is Schumacher. Michael Schumacher?
The Ferrari
Yeah.
driver guy.
Yes.
I
Well,
know-
anyway, that was her. He was her favorite, and she made me the same thing that she made for him every day. And I did an iconic picture with her, and just it was just really cool. And the food was amazing there. And then all through the countryside, all the way down to Turin, which is where I ended up. We were looking to build a supercar, right? Yeah, it's Schumacher. It is Schumacher.
Yeah, it's Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, and there's a picture of him and her, and she's giving him a big kiss on the cheek, and I got that same picture with Mama Rosella, and it was just it was cool. And
That's
That
amazing.
is too cool.
but the food from Ferrari to Turin, which is to the next big city, was just amazing because it's all fresh ingredients, and you could, this place has a certain cheese you got to have. And I was with some Italians, and they said, okay, when we get to this little town, we got to have this, and we'd stop and get a little bit of that, and it was just little tiny portions, but oh my gosh, the food was just insane, so good. But big cities, yeah, the pickings are slim. Pizza and 3 pastas, guys. Pizza and 3 pastas.
I mean,
No
I don't want
steaks,
to call
no
it
hamburgers.
I'm not going to call it the tourist trap, but they definitely know who they're playing towards.
Yeah, exactly. But Rome is surreal. Like if you've ever been to DC for the first time, you go to DC and you see all that stuff, you're like, whoa, like, wow, there's the Capitol, and there's the White House, and there's, the Lincoln Monument, and this and that. But when you go to you're driving through the city, and around the corner, the fucking Coliseum is sitting right in the middle of the damn deal. Wow, it's insane.
Hey Cap, just a heads up. I think we might be getting some interference with your mic, or the network mic connection might not be great.
I was wondering if that was me or if that was
Audio's a little bit better now, but
Probably.
you're. I take it back.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I think we're losing. Oh no. Check radio check.
All right, video's back. Cap, can you give us a
Am
sound
I back?
test?
Ah, there we
Am I
go.
back? Check.
Yes, you're back with
back,
us.
good
I don't know
sir.
what happened. I don't know what
Hey,
happened. But
yeah,
yeah, like I
those
said, it's just
Damn
surreal
internet fairies.
seeing that. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned DC
But
though,
yeah,
because
seeing the Coliseum the first time.
Coliseum is definitely on the bucket list. Just seeing all the rest of the just the artwork and the architecture. That's what I want to see when I go out to Rome.
Oh, like the Trevi Fountain, like just insane, right? Insane. But yeah, it was surreal seeing all that stuff, and to see how big it is, how much they've excavated, how much of the old city is still there. When you go to the hill, there's I forget, it's Palpatine Hill, right above, the Coliseum, and you see the whole the vastness of that city, and that's just a small portion. It's like, wow, to be that ancient, to be that huge is just amazing. And the Coliseum is just a marvel, of what they did. It's just insane.
One of the 7 wonders of the world. Can't say more about it.
Yep.
Tell you what, speaking of Pulsechain tour, we got another Pulsechain tour event we're going to talk about here. Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, I do have the old screen share going on here. There you go. We got the final Pulsechain tour event of the year coming up. I wonder what it could possibly be. Oh, wait. Yeah, it's New York City, obviously. So that's what we got going on. So, folks, if you want to see what I'm seeing here, go over to pulsechaintour.com and you can check out everything going on. We have the Richard Hart hearing in Brooklyn on the 31st, a.k.a. Halloween. Then we also have New York City Protecting Crypto Rights Seminar, the actual Pulsechain Tour event live that Friday in actual Manhattan proper. And then after that, we do have, of course, the Pulse 369 conference, March 6th through the 9th in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. But we're not talking about that one just yet. We're talking about this one right here, because we got Richard Hart hearing on October 31st. A source said Richard Hart's lawyers told them that it would be great to have more people show up to support Richard Hart during upcoming hearings. So remember this for the October 31st oral argument, which will be the biggest event of the case so far. There you go. Right in front of the old, oh gosh, Nuclear is going to roast me for this one. Second District?
It is second district, yep.
Second District. There we go. Nailed it. All right, I know what I'm talking about somewhat. There we go. Yeah.
Look at that.
So, all right. Halloween, October 31st at 1 p.m. However, if we go down a little bit earlier, about the event, we plan to bring signs, t-shirts, and other items to show our support for Richard Hart. Please RSVP so we can get a general idea of how many we can expect to attend. This RSVP is not a guarantee for seating, but rather intended to be used to update RH's legal team and the court to community expected attendance. The hearing is set to begin at 2 p.m., so we encourage you to arrive by 1 p.m. There we go. That's what we got going on. That's where it's at. Kat, what can we expect? What can the folks attending expect as well?
Well, you know, we're going. First of all, we'll be at the courthouse, so you know, your Sunday best. Go in there looking presentable. No fuck the SEC t-shirts on or whatnot. Just you know, because the courts are serious and they're real. And if you do stuff like that, they will not let you in, or you know, kick people out. So trying to troll or bomb, photo bomb, audio bomb, anything like that is definitely out of the question. We're here to support the actions that are about to take place. So we need to be on our mind, our P's and Q's, no clapping, no cheering, none of that kind of stuff. And of course we'll get instruction as we get there. So being there to support Richard is huge for what we're about to go through. The amicus brief, upon also with us showing up in force, being there, is going to help the court see things in a certain light. The lawyers have said as much. You know, hey, you know, we asked, did they want us there? Do they not want us there? They want us there. They want us there. They want the showing of support. Of course, if it's the proper support. So that's kind of what we can expect. There may not be much in the way of litigation or outcome, or it might be a nothing burger as far as that goes. But us being there, us showing force, is helpful to the case and helpful to the cause. Because remember, this is a case against him that says that the public has been wronged. That the community itself has been wronged. And if the community itself is showing up in a way where we're signing 50,000 signatures and we got 100, 150, 200 strong showing up at a courthouse where they have to put overflow rooms, we're respectful and we're there in support of Richard and what he's done and saying that he hasn't done the things that this thing says, on top of him having, you know, murderers row for lawyers against the SEC. And
it's the all-star team.
And a horrible, horrible, horrible case that they've brought up. I mean, it's just every corner you look at that thing, even a guy like me can look at it and go, this don't sound right. You know? So with all of the things in place, your show of support is kind of like the cherry on top of all of this. So coming there, just think of yourself as a cherry on top of this case to help Richard's, to help the outcome of this. And again, like we might not see an outcome, or anything special happen, but we'll be there and making a difference. And then, of course, us being there and spending time together, you know, that's going to be Halloween evening. So I'm sure that everybody's going to want to figure out what they're doing that night. There's already kind of questions in the Pulsechain Tour Telegram room as to what everybody's going to do, where they're going to go, because the next day is the event where we'll have speakers. I do believe you guys are going to be helping us out with that area.
There we
correct?
are.
All right. So we're going to have speakers, people talking, commenting on what took place. We're working on getting certain specific people there that may help bring more clarity to that. I don't want to say anything or damage it, but we may have some people there that can help clarify and give us deeper understanding. Nuclear Herbs will be there speaking. And then afterwards, we're all going to go break bread, VIP event, which is sold out, unfortunately. But the event is not sold out. So if you want to come to the event, you can come to the event. And we're also working on trying to live stream it through the tour site, like we've done in the past with certain tour dates. So that's what you can expect. That's what's happening. It is on the 31st. There's still tickets available on pulsechaintour.com. Where you can actually come to the event after. There is no charge if you just want to come and be part of the court case. We're asking that you do come. There's no charge for any of that or anything, because there's no the court supplies the room and whatnot. But yeah, if we can get there, show up in force and be part of the court case at least.
For sure. I think one of the best analogies that I've come up with for the 2-day process is that day one, show up, be a fan, be respectful, and like you said, dress in the Sunday's best. If you plan on actually going into the courtroom to attend and listen and observe, please be aware that you're not going to be allowed to bring electronics into the courtroom. So if you're trying to think about like live streaming, making TikToks or Reels or something, that's not going to fly. So I'll just come out and say it. It's if you want to be in that room, suit and tie, baby. Anything
and
less?
They watch for that stuff.
Sorry.
They watch for people bringing phones in there and doing, stuff like that. Trying to, they watch for it, and they've got cameras in there watching you too.
For sure.
I almost
if you don't
wonder
plan
if
on
they
going,
have.
Oh, go for it.
I was going to say, I wonder if they have little like lock boxes or cubbies for like outside the courtroom where people put their phones and take like a little key or something similar, like they would have at a gym. Or is it just like you leave it in your pocket, you don't fucking touch it kind of deal?
That was actually a good question I had for Chuck, aka Nuclear Herbs. So we'll have to ask our actual legal expert and understand what's going on, or we can just call the courthouse in advance and try to get some information.
We have a courthouse advocate that we've been speaking to, kind of trying to organize things. So I'll put that question to SJ to get out there and see if we can get an answer to it. We've had a little trouble communicating with the court. It's been easier to talk to the lawyers than to the court because they just don't respond. So you got to just kind of get them when you get them.
Government workers, right?
Yeah.
So for the folks that don't plan on going into the lion's den, so to speak, for people that want to show up and show support, try to show up around 1 o'clock beforehand, about an hour before the hearing starts. Hang out outside, have signs, T-shirts, show your support. And I assume people are probably going to be out there filming content or some sort of reactions, man on the street interviews kind of thing. And then after that, do you have any idea how long you anticipate the actual hearing being?
No clue. Now I've heard a lot say it shouldn't be more than 30 minutes. This should be a quick kind of thing.
Okay,
I heard
fair
that
enough.
From some lawyering. Now, that's just hearsay, So I'm just kind of spitting out something that I've heard a couple of times. But again, I've heard more times. We don't know. We don't know how long it could go.
Fair enough. And just for the folks at home, the place in the process that we're at right now is that the SEC has brought allegations of charges against Richard Hart. We've had months, if not pretty much a full calendar year at this point, where Richard Hart's legal team had a chance to respond. They filed a motion to dismiss. Then the SEC responded to their motion to dismiss. And now the Richard Hart legal team has also had an opportunity to respond to their response. And now at this point, we're pretty much going before the judge, and the judge is looking at the case on its face and determining if the body of evidence supports the allegations and if it should move forward to trial. So that is where we're at right now. Unfortunately, at this point in the process, the way that the legal system works is that a law enforcement agency has a duty and obligation to seek out bad actors. Therefore, when it comes to bringing charges and trying to find the bad guys, so to speak, they are actually given a bit of leeway with who they go after. But we're moving closer and closer to the point where they actually have to solidly and definitively prove their case. And this is one of the first steps in the process to do so. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but right now we're moving towards the more definitive part of it, and we're getting to the point where the SEC is going to be getting less and less slacken the leash or the chain, shall we say. And now we're actually going to start seeing the arguments on the face of it and determining if it's worthwhile pursuing. So that's what's going on right now.
Well, I'm really optimistic about the future of where the SEC actions may be going. Change of administration, either way, whatever way, we all know this thing is a big toss up. It's a 50-50 chance that one candidate or the other is going to take this thing home. But the good thing, and I talked about this on my show the other day with Marlon from the Pulsechain Foundation, that I talked to some of the the politicians that I know that are like Secretary of Nevada and some folks that I have contact with, and they're all and they're from both sides of the aisle, and they're all pretty sure that no matter which side takes over, that Mr. Gensler will either be promoted somewhere else or removed from his position there on that board as the leader of the SEC. If you looked at the last SEC roasting from Congress, he was lambasted by all sides, including the other 4 or 5 members of the board that he exists on. They were also like, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know why he's doing it. It was like they didn't disparage him, but they were like, well, it's him. They were all just kind of like pointing their finger at him. Wasn't me. And then when they spoke and spoke their position, it's like, yeah, we want to help the blockchain community. Yes, we want to make rules. We're not the guys. We're not the one. It's dude over here. It was kind of like that the whole time. So seeing that, hearing the other politicians that I talked to say that he's on his way out, he's probably setting up some real cushy, high-paying job over at some lobby shop somewhere or some company somewhere in the tech field that he's going to move on to. And he was just helping build his resume there by being tough on crypto or whatever. Who knows? But more than likely, he's moving on to greener pastures. And the regulatory framework and the SEC itself should calm down. And if we have a nice bull run here, really settle in. And hopefully we can be part of the being at the table instead of on the table. The DeFi community is what I'm speaking of, as far as helping with legislation, and helping with setting up the rules.
Well said, Cap. I mean, you're one of the people that knows this better than anyone, considering that you were trying to do the lobbying efforts there for a while. So makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's going to be about following the money this time, I think. And my eyes are glued to Brian Armstrong and what he's doing. I think that he has gotten more favor than anybody else in the space. I think that he, as far as they've come after him, but he pushed back and won, and he pushed back and, fared well. And he seems to be the guy that kind of has his finger on the pulse of what the politicians are looking for. Because look, let's face it, when I talk to them, when I sit down with them really face to face, I know we all have this connotation. All politicians are fucking assholes and they're doing this, and not true, guys. Not true at all. And I'm talking about both sides of the aisle politicians that are, and I haven't spoke to presidents and vice presidents and senators and, even Congress people.
Not yet. We haven't.
I have spoke to a couple of congresspersons. I can't say that. But at the lower levels, at the grassroots, at the local level, at the secretary of the treasurer's positions in states and whatnot, these people are doing this because they want to change their community. They want to help their community, and they're not all bad. And now the system that they all operate in makes them all function in a way that to all of us is like shady and undesirable, because it's all based on money. Because of Citizens United, and we've talked about this a million times, because of Citizens United, they all have to raise money. They all have to get paid in order to keep that job to go do what they want. So even though they may have gotten into public service to help or to better their community, because I mean, nobody really goes into public service thinking they're going to become a bazillionaire, right? Usually people with lots of money go into public service to get richer, is what really happens. You know, you don't see somebody who comes from the community, you know, working in the YMCA and helping, you know, people on the streets and whatnot, and then they go into become mayor. You don't see people like that, you know, that are trying to build the system, trying to, and you see some of those do it too. Like we saw that Blagojevich guy who tried to sell Obama's seat, you know, and he ended up in prison for it and he was one of those guys. He was a career guy, and he just said, "Oh shit, I got worth some money here. I'm gonna sell this bitch, make some money," and he got caught. You know, so I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We have rules and regulations. We're never going to have anarchy here in this country. So we got to figure out who to lean into and which ones are good, which ones are doing the good work, and which one of them are willing to listen to our stories. Who's willing to listen to us, to the people, to the real, not the drug dealers, the terrorists, the money launderers that they're looking for. That's who they're looking for. That's what they're trying to pin on DeFi. They're trying to put on all of our faces that we are that, and we're not. We're retired military. We're single moms. We're guys that work 30 years in a blue collar job. We're guys that are struggling and working a job and having a business or crypto on the side. You know, we are all these real things that make up America. And I'm talking about Americans. I'm not talking about, you know, global crypto, because I know we have other people.
Sorry, gang. Yeah. America only here.
But here, when it comes to our legislation, you know, so goes the U.S., so goes most of the world. But in crypto, the world is getting ahead of the United States. You know, the money, everybody's money is being treated better elsewhere, and that's going to be a loss for the U.S. But anyway, what I'm saying is leaning into the right people, finding out who's going in the right direction. I like the fact that Brian Armstrong has set up Dace, and he has a DeFi protocol out there that's an EVM-based protocol. That tells me, because this is a guy with his finger on the pulse, right? This tells me that this guy understands something that we need to keep close attention to. Because I think when it comes down, let's face it, are they going to come to RG3, or are they going to go to Brian Armstrong when they want somebody to sit on a board and help them figure out how to make regulations? Guarantee you it's going to be Mr. Armstrong, not RG3. So we need to figure out how we're going to get our story and lean into these folks and get our story through to them so that they don't throw this baby out with the bathwater, which is DeFi.
That's true. You referenced the last hearing that Congress had with good old Gary Gensler and the rest of the head of the SEC in front of him. And I got to say, it's definitely become a bit of a pattern, which is that anytime Gary Gensler goes in front of Congress, he gets roasted on a handful of fronts. And one of them is always the crypto front. The interesting thing is that this year in particular, he's actually proposed enough regulations with the SEC, not just around crypto, but regarding the entire banking sector, that he's actually genuinely pissed off, like, the entirety of Congress. And you can really see it with everything that goes on, because I want to say it was either March or April, there was a hearing where Gary Gensler came forward, and the chair actually said, I have never, ever had to actually subpoena the head of the SEC for records, but you have ignored us for over 180 days, so unless you turn over the documents we're asking for, I'm going to have to subpoena you. And it's like, it's that kind of stuff where it's the man is trying to regulate through just enforcement, and then also just kind of instead of trying to create solid regulations to allow the market to flourish, he's trying to pick and choose the cases to attack and prosecute in order to get the results that he wants. And it's come to a head. And even the point, like you talked about, where the other heads of the SEC are getting to the point where they're like, yeah, it's this guy. It's all this guy. That's what we got. But like you said earlier as well, I think there are some existing and up-and-coming politicians who are actually aware of the cryptocurrency space and the opportunities that it could provide. At a glance, I know Tom Emmer, he's the GOP majority whip, I'm pretty sure. He's one of the people that has really been on the ball with this stuff. And there's a bunch of other folks out there that are really on top of it. So
he had a pretty emotional lambasting of Mr. Gensler. during that hearing. It was pretty good. He's got some real critical things to say to them about it, and and whether or not he got anywhere with it, it's still the message is getting out there, coming from the politicians, coming from the leadership, and because he works for them, he's accountable to them, and for all of them to be saying this to him, and to see, this is the other thing that I really am enjoying seeing, or is kind of a tell to me, is when you see Elizabeth Warren and her clan that was around her, that was coming at crypto hard, like she was coming hard at crypto. Now she's probably not going to lose to Mr. Degen, unfortunately, because he's 100% pro crypto. He's been XRP's lawyer and one of the guys out in the space, just laying all the legal stuff out there and really putting it to the SEC and fighting hard. And love to see him win, but and I given up, but that's a tough hill to climb there. But her rhetoric has completely 180 flipped. Her people around her have quieted up. The whole rhetoric against crypto from that camp, I'm going to just call it the Warren camp, because there was a handful of them around her that were in her court. They've all silenced. They've all changed their tune. And even Warren has, so I like that I'm seeing that, because let's face facts. If this goes in a different direction than, say, a conservative win for the House and the Senate, then those are the people that are going to be in charge of the next 4 years of this. And more than likely in 25, we are going to see some kind of regulation. So what direction are they going to lean? And how do we get in front of them as soon as possible and get at the table so that we're not on the table? That's important. And I'm actually going to start. So I've started a new show, Citizen Crypto, and we're going to be doing a vlog of, just DeFi folks, just people that are real, that are using DeFi, that are either using, Pulsechain to build on and build new technology, Web3 space stuff, or they're setting up retirement plans with Hex, or, and staking it and doing these kinds of things, or they've already done something to change their life situation, like mine, my story, and getting these stories out there and in front of everybody to see and say, hey, we're not terrorist sponsors. We're not money launderers. We want you to go. We don't want terrorists out there getting money through crypto. We don't. So you guys figure out how to unfuck that. That's not our problem. You guys unfuck that. Let us have our crypto, because we need it. Because here's why. Because this single mom here has been saving with crypto for the last 10 years to buy her and her daughter a house. How are you going to throw her out of the bathwater when you've got ways to manage that type of stuff? You manage cash. Where everybody's, how many times Elon Musk talked to Russia. So tell me you can't figure out where some damn money's coming and going from. Whether it's, drug, big drug dealers. I'm not talking about somebody buying an ounce of weed on the internet. I'm talking about, fentanyl, $1 million, $2 million, $50 million fentanyl raids, and stuff like that. If you guys figure out a way how to fix that, like, you didn't take our cash from us, so you shouldn't be taking our crypto from us, because we're embedded in this. We've been embedded in this for 13 years, and here's all the real people that are embedded in it, and I think that's what they've got to see. We got to get that in front of them. And if it means that we need to get to Congress and get in front of Congress somehow, some way, get ourselves in front of them saying, hey, this is who we are and what we're doing, then we got to figure out how to do that.
I think the government types are starting to see the crypto case in front of them a lot more. But I think one of the junctions that we're coming up to this cycle in particular is that, are they going to see the grassroots people in front of them, or are they going to see the traditional finance people that have embraced cryptocurrency through the ETFs or traditional products and that kind of stuff?
We know the
That's
answer
what
to
I'm
that
looking at. Yeah, unfortunately, the answer is that yes. Is it possible for us to fight with BlackRock? The answer is realistically not really. So that is a bit of a doomer take on that one. However, at the same time, though, this is me reading the chicken bones a little bit here in the tea leaves, but based on the two current political campaigns going on right now, the Trump campaign and the Kamala campaign, both of them are pandering to cryptocurrency users to some degree, which shows me that they believe that this could legitimately become a voting block. And it's kind of crazy to think that, but realistically, it's just people that have opened themselves up to an alternative currency or an alternative way of saving or investing. And it's at that point where it is an actual political calculation that people at the highest levels of politics are having to make. And granted, I think that personally, one campaign makes a lot more and better appeals to the crypto audience than the other. But at the same time, both of the campaigns are making those appeals right now as we speak. And we're getting close to election day. And the closer we get, the more we see these things coming on, the more it signals to me that it's an actual calculation that they're making. And it's an actual thing that they believe Americans care about.
Yeah, because before, like last election cycle, we saw dead silence, radio silence on both sides, on the conservative side and
Precisely.
on the liberal side. We saw radio silence. Like, wait, they're not even talking. Let's get crypto talk out there. Let's talk about crypto. Hey, who? Crickets. Like those guys, they turned their backs on us. Nobody said anything. Now here's the thing. This election is going to be decided by 10 to 20,000 people in a couple of different states. It's literally going to be that tight. This is how tight this race is going to be. You're talking thin margins. Now, the crypto community is big enough. It's not big, but it's big enough to affect those margins. And I think that's why they finally said, hey, we can't ignore these people anymore. And of course, like you said, one party has been leaning into crypto more than the other. So the other party said, hey, we can't beat them unless we join them. So we got to join them. And I think that's probably more reason why we saw one side lean in for the first time and the other side lean in even harder, to continue to keep its foothold on it. So I think that's what we saw here. I don't think that they care right now about regulation and what they're going to do for us. And they don't have a plan. They don't have anything in stone yet. Like if they really wanted it, like they'd fire Gary Gensler. Like if they really wanted the crypto space, like make it a October surprise. We fired Gensler there. You may get a little bit more of the crypto folks on your
That would
side.
be a hell of an October surprise.
It would. Now,
That would be
it
fun.
probably wouldn't happen. That's slim to none. But like I
Yeah.
said, the margins on this election are so razor thin that the crypto space is making a difference. And that's why they're leaning in. Now, once it's all said and done and over with, we've got to hold their feet to the fire and say, hey, you guys came to us, you guys asked for us, and we helped you by bringing the voting block to whatever. You won, we helped. So whatever side, that's the card we got to play. You won, we helped because you guys leaned into us. So now, what are you going to do? What do you do for us? And here we are. Here we all are. This is who we are. This is what we want. This is what we're looking for. Put us all at the table and let's get this thing ironed out, and hopefully that's how it goes down. And it doesn't go to the election's over and we get ignored. You know what I mean? That's my hopes is that doesn't happen.
This is something that a lot of people don't think about a whole lot, in my personal opinion. But the election is only step one in regards to the 4-year election cycle, which is that is it a whole entire fight to get a president into an office? Yes, absolutely. But that's only one piece of the puzzle, and it's only one part of the fight. Because there's also Congress and there's also the Senate. And those are only 2 out of the 3 bodies that help create legislation here in the United States. The other is obviously the Supreme Court, but you don't really elect that, although you kind of elect them through the president because they appoint and they get confirmed by the Senate. But that's getting really deep in the weeds here. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, that's only step one. which is setting up the battlefield, so to speak. After that, they have an entire 4 years to litigate and pretty much, I guess, lack of a better word, rule the country and create legislation or regulation or just create the environment about which the markets are going to operate here in the United States and in regards to the rest of the world. Because that's really what it is. Congress, in my personal opinion, is very internally focused. The presidency is also largely internally focused, but they are uniquely the singular authority for everything externally United States as well, with regards to foreign policy, war, kind of. They're the commander-in-chief, but any declarations of war have to go through authorization through Congress, and that's another rabbit hole to get down. But the point is that it's only the beginning, which is that once you get your guy in the position you want them in, they then have to carry out the plan that they said they're going to carry out. If you have Congress on your side, fantastic. There's going to be that's a tailwind behind you. You're going to have a lot easier time getting things through, getting good legislation created, because, again, legislation has to originate in the House, not the Senate, the House. And then after that, it has to get past the Senate, and then it has to go to the president's desk. So we spent a lot of time on the presidency, but at the same time, your local elections, very, very important. Your congressional and senatorial elections, also massively important. And it's this trifecta that you kind of got to get all these in line to really get things through. And this is my take here. I think it's a good thing because it's by design. The United States is not supposed to make massive, wild changes every 4 years. It should take a large degree of unilateral support to get things through. But when it comes down to the numbers, you really need the presidency and you really need Congress behind you to get things done. So that's step one.
That's the big problem, is that this country has forgotten how to govern. And it's because of the disparity between the three branches. Like you said, the president signs off on it. Congress actually brings the laws to the table through lobbyists mostly, with some help from some congressmen and women. And then the Senate is the gatekeeper. They gatekeep whether or not it's going to go to the president or not and get signed. And then, of course, the Supreme Court, it just validates everything that's been done. Whether or not, nope, you guys screwed up on that one, cannot have. Or, no, that's great, and it needs to set a precedent. And, yeah, that law is not only does it change things, but it is legal and just. And that's what the Supreme Court does as far as our laws go. So if you can figure kind of that out, you understand the whole system. Now, here's something that's interesting, is that I know a lot of people are holding their noses one way or the other on this election. If you're one of those people that's still an independent or a different party from the two parties that are there, I know that's your deal. But you got to realize that, like you were just saying, like Zena said, is your local elections are important. You don't have to down ticket vote everything. If you think, okay, well, I got to vote for this person for president, even though I got to hold my nose. Well, that doesn't mean that you have to go, single ticket all the way down. You go and vote for who you think is going to do. And I've always voted that way myself. No on all the propositions, because I don't want to spend any of my money on any of that bullshit. So I just say no on any proposition and get rid of that shit. Forget you. Don't take any more of my money. But other than that, I like it. Politicians, who they are. I learned that a long time ago. I'm like, no, I ain't going to let you guys sucker me into anything. I mean, you do got to watch out, because sometimes they try and trick you from a no that really turns into a yes to you losing your money kind of thing. That's kind of California. They do that all the time. All the time. They're trying to stick something in there. And like, if you're going to say a no, it really was a yes for something that you didn't want. And then they name things like weird, to pull at your heartstrings and all that kind of stuff. And it really doesn't mean anything. It means that one contractor in California is going to make a whole bunch of money because you said yes, and it's going to cost taxpayers money.
Yeah, it's the classic, let's name this bill the Save Puppies Act, but really what we're doing is funding more war in Ukraine. But like, I can't vote against this because it looks bad at the headline.
Smashing puppies with sledgehammers in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Oh, it is what it is.
It's all a bunch of campfire stories, boys. That's all it is.
And something else that I was that interests me. I was talking to, again, one of my politician friends, and I told him that, I said, well, the one sad thing about all this in the U.S. is that the world has moved on without it. that there are other countries, and right now there's a lot of countries coming up with tax incentive programs for you to nomad to. It used to be just, hey, Puerto Rico, and then maybe there was this thing in Malta, but now it's like there's country after country after country. I think Spain's setting something up. Portugal has a beautiful program. Malta has their program. There's programs like popping up all over now where they want to treat your money and you better than the country that you live in. And now we know that because we're all looking at it on a regular basis, but these politicians don't know and understand what's happening, because I talk to them now. This is a crypto politician. This is one that is in the know, understands DeFi, understands Hex, and he gets it. But I told him, I said, look, all of the bigs, all of your big Bitcoin maximalists, all of your big owners of your big crypto companies, they all offshored their money. They live elsewhere. They've moved out of the US. They've taken their money already out of the US, including lower level folks that I know. Myself, all of us are looking to get our money treated better elsewhere. And he was stunned and surprised and shocked that was going on. And it's going on in a massive way. I mean, this community alone, probably 20, 25, 30 of my friends from the US have moved out, or moved their money out at least, and become residents of other countries and dual citizenship. And that's a loss to this country, not only, for innovation and crypto advocacy and all that stuff, but the money's not here anymore in our banks, in our system. It's out in another country, where it's being treated better. And that's a shame. And he was stunned. He was really stunned he said, really? He goes, that's interesting. I've not heard this. And I'm like, well, you better get that message out there real quick and start letting them know. Because, they all the different states get together and they have these meetings and they talk about these things. And there's literally like a handful of, treasurers of the states out there, obviously 50 of them. And these guys all get together and they talk about this stuff, and they talk about crypto advocacy, and they talk about what their states are doing. And they, want to know what other states are seeing or doing. And they should know that, hey, crypto money is leaving this country. So hopefully he's out there spreading that message.
Oh, I believe it. By the way, speaking of people spreading messages, I did have a few tweets that I pulled up that I want to highlight, just to shout out some Hexicans doing the Lord's work, so to speak.
Yes.
This is producer, if you do not mind. First and foremost, we have someone who recently caught the eye of Vitalik himself.
XO!
Yeah, it's Hexologist, by the way. I'm not going to bury the lead on this one. Yeah, Vitalik is saying an important step, some important next steps. Helios, L2 configs, more L2 configs. And then Hexologist comes in with, just stop dumping and we'll be all right, bro. And then Vitalik even responds to him. He says, I haven't sold a single ETH in the past month. The amount of ETH I hold has actually gone up. And then Hexologist hitting him with the, oh, okay. Sure, man. Yeah, Hexologist made definitely made some
sold in a month.
Oh, only a month.
Only
a month.
1 month. Jumped on your heads in a month. For the last 3 years of this brutal bear market, I've been pissing all over your heads.
That's true.
He also replied to that one a second time. He's like, what about the foundation? And then Vitalik was like, come on, bro. We got to pay our devs and shit. And it's just like, oh, jeez. Bad look.
Yeah, this is another meme I found recently. We have gold flexing on the grave of Ethereum at $2,500 when gold is at new all-time highs.
No! Oh man, well maybe it's time for me to break out the golden safe and get rid of it all.
All these pieces of 8.
Great granddad's gold be damned, right? And put it all.
There
in
you go.
crypto.
That's true. That's true. Speaking of which, I have a few more. So from another one of our mentors, we have from Cultivate Crypto. He says, will you make it until then? Many feel that perhaps not. This was a quote from an interview that Gary Gensler did recently. Let me know if you guys can hear it.
2026, but
are we good?
Talking of disclosures, one disclosure from...
All right, sorry. Let's get this up there. We'll start at the beginning.
talking of disclosures, one disclosure from former President Trump is that he would fire you, ultimately. Unsurprising to you, I'm sure.
So, Caroline, I'll let you go to your next question.
A lot to get on with, and your term is what, until June 2026? But will it run until then? Many feel that perhaps not.
There you go, Gary Gensler. You're hired until 2026. What do you think about that? And he's like, next question, please.
Yeah, the problem with that is technically he can't be fired by the president. It's not the president's place to do so, even though he may say so and this and that. It's not. Now he can make lots of recommendations and push and do some things or whatever, or put himself in a constitutional crisis by doing so somehow, some way. Use the military, whatever it is. But
it could be military, could be Schedule F, which is one way to fire federal politicians as well. But I think you hit a point there, which is that theoretically, is this a constitutional crisis? By crisis, do we mean, is it a question that has not been answered yet? And I think the answer is yes. The question has not been asked or answered yet, which is that theoretically, everyone under the federal government technically does serve at the president's leisure, unless otherwise very, very specifically stated otherwise. And even then, I think there is a bit of a gray area. So the question is the chief executive of the country able to hire and fire at their pleasure in regards to the entirety of the regulatory authorities that are under the federal government, which the president is in charge of? That's a question that I'm very curious to get the answer on personally.
Yeah, from what the answers that I've gotten is it's a resounding no. However, it can be done, but then it would create a constitutional crisis. And that means it ends up in the Supreme Court, which the Supreme Court favors the president if Donald Trump is the president, which he said.
To give you a little bit of pushback on this one, I understand the sentiment that the Supreme Court, as it stands right now, is a little bit more aligned towards Donald Trump, so to speak, because he was the person that put the last three justices on the Supreme Court. However, I will say this much. At the same time, those three justices, it's Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and I'm missing one. It's not Scalia. It's not.
No.
God.
Yeah, Scalia died. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Scalia a lot. I actually had a chance to listen to him speak live, and he's a really smart guy. Or was R.I.P. Sorry, but my guy. But yes, I understand your sentiment.
Gorsuch.
Which is that Gorsuch. Thank you.
Neil
Gorsuch is the
Gorsuch.
other one.
Yeah.
Correct. So those three are Trump appointees technically. However, they have ruled against some Trump administration procedures in the past. So it's not a loyalty question. If anything, the best way to describe some of these justices, I think, are more strict constitutionalists in accordance with, Thomas. Alito is one of them, and Thomas Sowell. Thank you. There we go. So I understand the sentiment. However, at the same time, I think it's a bit of whitewashing, so to speak, which is that, are they going to blanket agree with Trump? No. In the past, they have showed that they have not. And if anything,
they haven't. Yeah.
They're more strict on their interpretation of the Constitution in a very strict and direct manner. They're not the liberalists on the courts like Justice Sotomayor and the other ones. I'm blanking on these ones. I should know these. But the point is this, which is that the constitutional question can be raised. At the same time, it's not a guarantee either direction. However, personally speaking, this is Uncle Z speaking here, based on the original founders and the framers' interpretation of the triumvirate of government. Yes, when it comes to the actual regulatory state, which none of them anticipated, the government should be able to hire and fire at his pleasure. That's my take personally. It's not in law anywhere. That's just my understanding of how the country was founded and how we have directed the law up until this point. So there you go.
Well, and I think the case against him sitting on the Supreme Court with all of the nefarious things that have gone under his watch would convict him, in the Supreme Court. Whether they, just side with, the president of their choice or not and his ruling, I think that there's enough case there against Gary Gensler that would be easy for them to say, yes, this is just and well, and not a constitutional issue. So that's just how I see it. If it was to go that way, that I think that it would end up justified through the Supreme Court.
Fair enough. I wholeheartedly understand that argument, and I see the legitimacy to it as well. Fair enough. Alrighty, we got a few more tweets I want to cover before we move to our closing segment. But from the other one of the people that got me into crypto, we have Miguel, aka Dollar Cost Crypto himself. We have an updated version on the Citadel, but instead of Bitcoin, we're looking at Hex. We have, here we go. We have down at the bottom, we have the no coiners. We have the 10 hex, the 100 hex, the 1,000 hex. That's where you get to the rope. The 10,000 hex, that is the cope. 1/3 of Jeets have less than $1,000 in savings. And then we even have the suicide stack at 100,000 hex. That's where you get to the hope. And then once we get above there, we get to the break it, the make it. Shout out to Angry Twinkie himself. And then we have generational wealth at 1 million hex. And then even above that, we have the Dukes, Kings, and Emperors, where we have our good friend Sami, and then Richard Hart himself. And then we have Charlie and Miguel looking at all of us from the clouds.
I have a slight disagreement with this chart in that it should be in T-shares rather than in liquid hex. But that's just my thinking.
That's a hot take. That's a good one, though. I like that.
That's just my thinking.
Shout out to Crypto Kool-Aid if he's still watching. He was one of the people that really cemented in my brain that holding liquid hex is not the use case of hex. Holding T-shares is the use case of Hex. T-shares is where the functionality is at. Other than that, you could theoretically just call it an inflationary meme coin. But T-shares, that's the real metagame.
Yeah, I was just at a Bitcoin event. Well, it wasn't Bitcoin. It was a crypto event in LA. We had Tech Week out here last week, and I got invited to one of these things. And Brock Pierce was there, and a couple other bigs from the the old cypherpunk days were there. And it was a small gathering at a home, big home in Venice, California. But I was quiet and just kind of fly on the wall, just first real kind of crypto event. I didn't want to be known as a Hexican. I didn't want to be, I didn't want to deal with the angst, I just want to enjoy myself and talk crypto with people, whatever. Well, eventually the evening went on, people started drinking, people were getting shit faced. And this one woman saw my shirt. Now my shirt was very subtle. It was a blinged out skull, but on the bottom it said Pulsechain really small. And she looked at it and said, Pulsechain, isn't that Richard Hart chain? And I said, why, yes, it is. And she said, who are you? And I told her who I was and what I did. And, oh, you're one of them. And it was on. Now, she was a regulatory person. She's out there advocating for centralized regulatory crypto legislation or whatever. And so she started badgering me at first. I said, hey, look, if you want to know about it, I'll tell you about it. If not, then I'm not going to sit here and fight you like I fought everybody for the last 5 years. It's not going to be like that. And she said, no. I want you to explain Hex to me because, everybody's mad at Richard and everybody hates Richard and everybody's mad at you guys because of your MLM scheme. And I said, see, there's the problem. There's the problem. It's not an MLM. And I'm not going to say scheme, but it's not an MLM. And she says, what do you mean it's not an MLM? I said, it's not even close to being an MLM. Why would you say that? You're just regurgitating stuff that you've heard versus doing your research. Have you ever sat down and done your research? Of course I've done research. I said, well, no, you haven't if you think that it's an MLM, because I can go show you 100, MLMs right now, and Hex has absolutely nothing to do with it. Hex is more like Bitcoin than it is an MLM. It's better than Bitcoin. And then when I said that, it blew up into another, badgering of me. And it's not, how could it be? Blah, 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 blah.
You just triggered my trap card.
And I said, well, if you let me, I'll explain why. And as soon as I started, I said, well, let's go all the way back to the beginning and let me explain to you how Hex inflated at first, how it was launched and the adoption amplifier. And as soon as I started to speak, I didn't get one sentence in, slammed. Tried to get another sentence in, slammed. And they were drunk. And so I finally just had to look, this conversation isn't going to go anywhere. Probably a bad idea that we're talking now that you guys are all drinking. So let's just end this. So I did. I ended the conversation, and there was a reporter there, a crypto reporter that's part of, I can't say at this point, some of the big publications out there one of the biggest publications out there in crypto space, and came up to me and gave me her card and said, "Hey, I saw what was going on there. I didn't appreciate how they were talking to you. I'd like to hear the story, and I'd like to hear it in a private setting where I can really understand, because I've heard of Hex, I've heard of Richard, I've seen all this stuff, I've heard all the rhetoric around that all these people have said, but I've never heard anybody like you try and explain it and try and talk about the community, because we know the community is robust, but we've heard that you guys are ravenous dogs. You don't seem to be a ravenous dog." I said, "Well, we've had to be that way because of this." I said, "How do you expect me to have rational conversations with people when every conversation I have is exactly like this? When everybody else is allowed to explain their protocol, like you just had a room full of 30 people doing a 6-minute pitch fest, and everybody listened to their pitch. Everybody listened to what they were doing. And some of these projects, I'm sorry, they're bullshit. They're bullshit.
Yeah.
No offense, guys, but some of you got some fucking stupid projects up here. But you guys won't let me explain what I've spent the last 6-7 years of my life on, what I wholeheartedly believe in, because I did the research. I know your Bitcoin. I know who you guys are, but you guys don't know me and my Hex. You won't learn what Hex is. I've had to learn what Hex is, and I know what Bitcoin is, and I know what your other cryptos are, but you guys won't do the research that I've done. You can explain all you want to me about what you know, but I know the same. But you guys don't know what I know when it comes to Hex. And if you'd listen, it would change your world completely, because what you guys are really looking for is right here. It's right here. Everything that you guys are looking and fighting and trying to gain here in this space is right here. But you guys you're too stupid to listen. And all you want to do is call me a scammer. And all you want to do is listen. Motherfucking Peter, whatever the goddamn hell's name is, from Wise Token was up there pitching in front of him. That guy is a known scammer, dumbass, built bad products, destroyed his own token, and now he's out there pitching a loan protocol through Wise Loans. I was actually in a room with that jackass and held it together. I didn't go up and knock his teeth out or anything like that, like I would have liked to, but I kept it civil and I didn't even talk to him. I just steered clear of him, because literally that guy, they came at me, him and his folks, and they doxed Richard and they tried to hurt Hex in the beginning. He dumped 150 million of it, so they did a lot of damage in the early days. And he ripped off the Hex protocol and tried to say, I'm making a better Hex. And, and that's the kind of people that they will listen to, but they won't listen to us. Those of us who haven't hurt anybody, who haven't tried to do anything nefarious in this space, like Richard hasn't done anything to anyone yet. They will sit there and have stupid fucking projects and known scammers on their stages and thank you, and clap for them. And so that was the conversation. At least the one person that had some sanity in them is now talking to us and wants to do kind of a big paper interview. So that's really cool.
Hey, glad to hear it. But
yeah.
The moral of the story there, unfortunately, is that the smear merchants have gone to work and they've had some degree of success, which really sucks. But the good news is, I think there's good people like you, and I don't want to toot our own horn here too much, but I think there's hopefully good people like us as well, trying to really explain to people like, no, it's not a scam. In fact, that's just a label people try to haphazardly apply, not even applicable. We can debunk it in a minute, and then after that, we can talk to you about like the real interesting stuff. We can talk to you about T-shares, payouts, increasing T-share cost over time. How many T-shares are going to be in the future, 2039, 2040? We're not talking about next cycle. We're talking like 3 or 4 cycles from now. That's the game that we're trying to play here.
Yes.
And it's exactly what you said. It's the better Bitcoin. It really is. And I mean, call me someone who's drunk the Kool-Aid, because damn right I have, but I agree. I think it's a better Bitcoin, it's a better use case, and it's a better game theory. And I'm here for it.
I literally, when they asked me for a definition of what it is without going into in depth, they said, well, give us a quick definition of what Hex is. I said, it's Bitcoin with a proof of work change. That's it. That's all it is. It really is that. I said, it's built on Ethereum, so it's more secure, works better, functions faster. And they spit their milk and their drinks and everything out and just, and even Brock was there. You know, he didn't say anything, but you know, he wasn't gonna jump in and advocate, I'm sure. But you know, I wasn't afraid to say it in front of him, and you know, hey, it's better Bitcoin. Go look at my tour, the Better Than Bitcoin tour. That's what we were doing. That's what we were pitching. That's what we were showing people. So.
Exactly. That was a hell of a tour. But to also call a spade here, Bitcoin was the first to the party. So theoretically, everything since then has been a better Bitcoin, so to speak. Or if it's not, it's just some sort of meme coin that you're trying to get just pure market action behind and pure accumulation of market sentiment and market wealth and whatnot. But at the same time, we're all chasing a use case that is more than Bitcoin. And I do genuinely believe that Hex is better than Bitcoin in this regard, because the T-share payout, the T-share increasing, the staking bonuses for both size and time, it all plays into the metagame that is Hex. And people might have their issues with how it was launched, but at the same time, it's kind of one of the best ways to launch it, other than just like pure VC or pure just fair launch, because at the same time, those played to different crowds. And this one, I think, was a good blend of the two.
And let's face it, the space has been experimenting with launches. You know, this is the experimental phase. It's Wild Wild West. We're trying to. What's going to be the? It wasn't launched to do a certain thing. It was what was thought was best and most fair to do at the time. You know, and since then things have changed and gotten like every launch should be getting better now by this time. You know, we like you said, be building better Bitcoins, better Hex, better. You know, all these things should be being developed stronger. Real quick, can I say a quick shout out? I just wanted to say a shout out.
Yeah, you got as much time as you, my man.
The original Degen of Hex Crypto Black Sheep, my friend.
Yes,
is in the chat room.
Yes, he is.
If you guys don't know his history, when it comes to Degens, there was never a stronger Degen in the Hex community than the Black Sheep himself.
Yes.
So shout out my boy.
Black Sheep has been in the space for longer than Hex has been around. He's been streaming every single day for like a long fucking time. I can't remember. I know it's over 3 years. I think it might be over 4 years. He's at like day 1470 or something like that in his like stream that he does every day. He is an excellent and outstanding degenerate, and I freaking love that dude.
And talented
you,
as
Black
fuck.
Sheep.
I mean, like the dude can spit out a bar and music like nobody's business. Like, you know, come on. I sing in the car like everybody else. We sing in the car. We think, oh man, I could like pull this off. Like I should be on stage pulling this off. Now, I sat down in studio to help him with one of his songs, and like I couldn't sing 2 words. I think I ended up getting 1 word because it was so off timing, so horribly sung that we just couldn't. I mean, we worked on it for hours just to get like 1 word, not even a sentence, not even a whole chorus or whatever. It was just like, anyway, it was pathetic. It was difficult. And the guy is a genius, and he can belt out a song and put it down and make a good one in a day. You know, the guy is that good.
Oh, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree, because I also asked him at one point for some advice on how to make like a little spoof song, because we wanted to do something for a 1-year anniversary. I went to 2 people. First was Crypto Black Sheep. The other was Crypto Kool-Aid. I went to Kool-Aid first, and I was like, hey, how do you do all like the AI stuff? And he's like, cool. You need to go download these $10,000 tools. You need to go get some really serious hardware, and then we can start working on some AI stuff. It's going to take about 72 hours to tweak, but you can get there. And I was like, okay, that's not me, but I see you, brother. And then I went over to Black Sheep, and I was like, hey, just try to make a spoof song. How do you do? And he's like, oh, you know, I just fire up the recording and start jamming and singing myself, and we just get it out there, and we're done. And I was like, okay, so we have pure technology and pure talent, and I am nowhere on either of those ends. It was just wild.
Me neither. And it surprised me at really how difficult it is to time and tone, even with like the dude has like the, what do they call that? The toners that make your voice sound right and all that shit.
Equalizers.
The auto tuning.
Auto tune, like he couldn't even get the auto tune to fix my shit. It was so bad, right? I mean, it was like he literally when we finally called it a night, he's like, "Okay, bro," and he was really really kind about it. "Okay, bro, we're good, man." Like I'm like, "Oh, dude, sick and tired of this shit," right? So he's like, "I'm gonna take this to my boy, and we're gonna work on it." Like, oh shit! Like he wasn't even strong enough to fix my shit. He had to go take it to like his expert bro in the background that probably has all those $10,000 tools and shit. And then they fixed my like one word, my one little sound that I actually put in the video and or in the song. And yeah, it was embarrassing, the whole thing. That's why I don't talk about it too much. But anyway.
Hey, I love it. There's a reason we haven't put out any
music
music videos yet either.
It was like, "Yeah, man, you know, we're gonna take this and we're gonna really make it sound good, bro." And I was like, he's really saying, "Bro, you suck so bad. I gotta take this to my expert, bro, and unfuck this thing because you suck. Let's call it a night. I'm not doing this anymore." It was insane. I was like,
true.
Okay, well, I am not set up for music. That's for sure.
What a guy, Crypto Black Sheep, one of the homies for sure.
Shout out
By the
to
way,
Chris.
I looked it up. He just finished today episode 1469 of the live stream. Consecutive days.
Wow.
Yep.
What
That's
a
Black
madman.
Sheep, man. Tireless.
Yep.
For sure. All right, gentlemen, we got two more tweets we're gonna get to, and then we'll get out of here. So first up and foremost, we got one of the people who hosts the Hex conference and the Pulsechain conference on the internet. That is Matty Allen. He said he will be VIP at Trump's rally today in Madison Square Garden in New York. So he beat us out there early. Says thanks to all the mega boys who I met at the Ethereum conference. Those guys rock.
Oh.
Another great Hexkin doing great work out there.
Matty Allen putting it down.
Shout out to Matty.
True. And the final share for tonight from Altcoin Daily says, insane that Joe Rogan interviewed Donald Trump for 3 hours and never once brought up cryptocurrency. The reason I'm closing on this one is it's a little bit of a splash of cold water, but the reality is, understand that right now, the single-handed biggest narrative in the United States is the presidential election. Has cryptocurrency been a part of it? Yes. Is it the entire conversation? Absolutely not. Just understand where we're at, what our priorities are, and how they line up with the average American. Are they important? Absolutely. Is it the end-all, be-all? Absolutely not. So I'll just throw that in there for the grain of salt with all of the takes that we've had here tonight. Gentlemen, what do you think?
Well, I think that Joe himself is not a crypto advocate. You know, I actually was on his show one time. I wasn't on the show. I was at the show. My sister did his show. So I met him and I talked to some of his staff about crypto, and one or two of them were like, yeah, we're into crypto and blah, blah, blah. But they've never done crypto shows or much of it or talked much about it. At that time, this was literally the day that California shut down because of COVID. I was there at his studio. And then when I left, like all the restaurants, it was weird. Everything was closed in the whole neighborhood. And I drove home from, for the closure of everything. But I think that that's kind of the main reason, is that he's really not a crypto advocate or against crypto. It's just that wasn't, there was so much for them to talk about. I mean, they filled 3 hours up, there was so much rhetoric and things to talk about that they just spent 3 hours, talking about other things that they found important, because, let's face it, Trump's family is probably more tuned into it than himself. He understands, he's made some comments, but probably his sons are the ones that are, really spearheading that whole thing. And, it probably isn't something front of his mind.
I do think that it doesn't really fit into either one of their brands, either Joe Rogan or Trump. Like for Trump, it's probably useful to cater to the cryptocurrency voting block. And for Rogan, like he's interviewed people who have had things to do with cryptocurrency, but it's never really been a focus of his. He's more focused on the philosophical stuff and the life problem solving stuff and chasing knowledge and information more so than like online internet gambling Ponzi's, and ones
Or
and zeros
violence.
that make us all rich.
Or
Yeah.
violence, anything that has to do with male violence.
Yep. So
For sure.
I do think it doesn't quite fit in their brand. Is that? Do you have further thought?
Nope, that is all I got. Other than Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, while we move to the closing stuff, I have one final screen share. And this is New York City Protecting Crypto Rights Seminar, a community approach. This is the Pulsechain Tour website, again, for the final time. We're, not we, but RG3 is hosting a Pulsechain Tour event on Friday, November 1st in New York City, Lower Manhattan. And Will and I have both been generously invited to speak at the event. We're very humbled and thankful to receive such an invitation, and we'll be speaking at this event. So if you want to buy tickets, you absolutely still can. Again, Friday, November 1st, Lower Manhattan, be there, be square, starting at 9:30 a.m., going all the way to 5 p.m. Unfortunately, the VIP dinner tickets are sold out, but if you want to join all of the excellent talks, hearings, and even there's an open mic segment as well. You can get up there, speak your piece, hear out from other folks, meet other folks, and just enjoy the community. It's going to be everybody from RG3, Crypto Coffee, Access Alive, Nuclear Herbs, myself, Will, and many more. That is what we got. And I know, by the way, if you can't make it, but you still want to support the cause, if you go all the way down to the bottom of the website, there is a donation address for Pulsechain Tour. And if you want to support everything going on, that's the place to do it. If you can't make it, I know RG3 is a good man, is not going to shill that, but I'm happy to shill it for him, because if you want to support the cause, this is the way to do it. Buy the tickets because you like the good products they put out, or if you want to be purely benevolent and donate to the address, that's the other way. That is all we got. Captain, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Where can the folks find you, and what do you have going on?
Well, again, you said what's going on. And then the other thing is that there are tickets for next year's Vegas event, golf tournament, pitch fest, the whole shebang shaboom, going to be the big Pulsechain convention. So that's going to be super sweet and cool. If you don't mind, I want to answer a question that's in the
Please
chat
do.
room
Take it
real
away.
quick. Not
Chat it out. We'll bring it up.
So Beyond All says, a t-shirt. And I was talking earlier about explaining to people that, Hex is better than Bitcoin, and that it's just a proof of work change. My very next comment after that is the comment about, when you stake your Hex, you're creating just like a Bitcoin miner without all the energy waste and that. So that's how I explain T-shares to them. I start out explaining it as, hey, think of it as a Bitcoin miner, and here's how that works. And then I walk them back into what a T-share is, being a marker of time, and of your value and the bonus value that you get from your staking longer and larger. And that's what a T-share is your marker in time for how much value you've put into the system with yourself, and it's a contract with yourself. And then I explain all that to them. So that's kind of how I do my little 5-minute elevator pitches. Tell them it's better than Bitcoin with proof of work change, and then go into T-shares explaining it that way, telling them that it is just like setting up a miner, which it really is, because the inflation of both coins come to the miners and to the stakers, and that's how it works. So anyway, with that, yes, tour going to be in DC. Everybody's excited, fired up. Things are starting to change. We're seeing green candles. And I think that, hey guys, the winds are in our sails right now. That's what I think is happening, is that the winds are fluttering the sails, and we're getting ready to, it's about charting our course now. It's about setting our sails and our keels to the winds and going in the direction that is going to move us all forward. And remember, a rising tide raises all ships. So once this thing starts moving in the crypto space, we're all going to see green candles. It's not going to be one coin or another, or one blockchain or another, or one DEX or another. They're all going to see it. We if you're not noticing, every time we start to see a pump in the market, everything starts to flow up, and then they ebb a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's coming. So excited. Thanks for having me, guys. Honor and privilege of having you guys at the event is ours. The fact that you guys said yes made us ecstatic. So humbly, thank you for coming. Thank you for speaking. I appreciate you guys every time that you come and support us on the FN when I'm busy, or, you come to an event like this and speak. You guys are much better than I am at it. So I appreciate you guys coming, and we're going to enjoy the whole thing, and hopefully get to, break some bread and hang out and party afterwards.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a good time.
Though, it's one team, one fight. Always happy to be a
Yes,
part
sir.
of it.
Yes. All right. Thanks, guys.
For sure.
Excellent.
For sure. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Zenith. You can catch me on Instagram and Twitter at ZenithDI. We have our usual shows coming up. We have Whiskey Wednesday this Wednesday. We do not have a book club this week because obviously we're in New York. And then after that, we're going to be back on next Sunday for our usual Sunday show. And we're going to be gearing up for the election on that one, actually. But that is what we got going on. Will, where can the folks find you? And take us out when you're ready.
Yes, the folks can find me in all my socials at will.pls.fyi. If you're a Hexagon and you want to meet other Hexagons, then what you need to do is go to bit.ly/hex_meetup. That's where you can go and meet other Hexagons. It's a little Telegram group that I made a while back. If you're lonely and you want to go hang out with other Hex Bros, then that's the place to go. I will go ahead and drop that link into the chat just as I have dropped Zenith's and also RG3's socials and everything. And Mrs. Producer, we're going to finish out right before I read the final copywriting with some very final chat shoutouts. So if you would be so kind, we're going to go ahead and one last time recognize the audience members who have spent their valuable time chatting with us, starting with Crypto Stylist. Good morning, Degens, with a special shout out to the ultimate Degen, RG3. Absolutely. Good to see you, Crypto Stylist. Welcome to the show. Glad you were able to make it and catch us live here. Absolutely fantastic to have you with us. Up next in chat shoutouts, we've got none other than Agenda 69 with Michael Schumacher. Yes, that is correct. Michael Schumacher was the gentleman who did the racing for Ferrari, and he unfortunately hit his head against a rock on a skiing trip, and that's where he experienced those medical difficulties and things. So shout out to you, Mr. 69 feller, and yes, thank you for being here with us. Next up in chat shoutouts, we have Mr. Paul Sachs. It's Jello time for the captain. He'll be back soon. I think he's
time out for that one.
Yep. Oh, that's funny. We're gonna have to keel haul you for that one there, Mr. Paul Sachs. That is excellent. All right, next up, we got Hex Fetty. None other than Hex Fetty with Emperor Palpatine. I can't remember what we were talking about that brought this up, but yes, that's the guy that zaps people and
Palpatine Hill in Rome. Yeah.
Oh, that's what it is.
Oh, okay.
It's actually Palatine Hill. Yeah.
Oh, I said it wrong. That's funny as hell. Awesome. Well, shout out to you, sir, and good catch there with Emperor. Oh shoot, I forgot the name. Palatine. Emperor Peloton. He was really good at stationary bicycle. Next up, we have Crypto Black Sheep. What's up, Degens? Miss you, RG3, and I still got your Hex jacket in my trunk. LOL.
Yeah,
That's
good thing
super
I
funny. Shout out
escaped
to you
that
again.
jacket while I was in the trunk. That's a whole other story.
Oh, that is too funny. That is too funny. Next thing you know, it's like there's a car inside a river. Then RG3 is like swimming out. Like, thank God. There's probably a cool story behind there. All right, but speaking of cool stories, we got Mr. Beyond All saying, so is the judge going to depend on the written exchanges that's been going so far in the court day exchanges? I would be quite surprised to find if the judge has not already taken all of the legal proceedings that have happened in the back and forth between Richard Hart's lawyers and the SEC's lawyers, if they have if Judge Auntie Carroll has not already taken that into consideration. So I'm willing to bet that they already know about it. I'm curious to see what happens in the court. So I suppose we'll find out, good sir, and we'll let you know.
I'll jump in here real quick. So based on everything going on, is the judge going to take in everything that's been put out there so far? Absolutely. I imagine that this hearing, we're pretty much going to get any questions from the bench to each of the parties regarding everything that has been stated previously and everything that they need clarification on. And that's where we get the alleged 30-minute timeline, theoretically, which is they might read about what's going on, ask one or two questions, and then call it a day. But it should be an opportunity for the judge to actually ask some questions about going on and then take that in consideration with everything else that has been put out there so far. So yes, all of the written exchanges will be taken into consideration, and this should just be a little bit of a expanse on everything that's been going on so far.
Excellent. Good explanation. I like it. And then finally, for chat shoutouts, we have one more to go. Mr. and or Mrs. K. Hudson with the black and white Pulsex logo. They ought to go to RG3. Yes, if they want to get these. Yep. if they got these, if they want to know how to start making these legal documents and figuring out all these regulations, send them to RG3. Don't go to Brian Baldstrong. Go right over onto the captain here. He'll set you straight. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to end the show. So I want to thank you all for spending your valuable time with us here on the Degen Roundtable. As Agent J often says, we know that time is your most precious asset, and we appreciate you spending that time here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Will Stevenson, but more importantly, you have been watching the Degen Roundtable. Mrs. Producer, go ahead and get that trigger figure ready, because it's time to remind all the folks at home to remember to Degen responsibly.